So, Ant, we just spent the past probably hour and a half discussing what constitutes as a Nintendo franchise, and I don't even think we got this all. I don't think we got it all here.
No, someone's gonna be mad. There's some single games that aren't on here. You didn't put Fling Smash on here, right? That's only one game.
That is only one game.
Sadly.
I mean, I don't know. This is, you can just go down so many rabbit holes. I mean, like, there's certain franchises that we just completely just spit out here. I mean, like, I just have Yoshi put down here. What does that mean? Let's rank that first. Where does Yoshi go?
Oh my god, I'm not even going alphabetical. Oh, I'm gonna be so tired after all this. All right, so this is just every Yoshi thing ever, right? So this is like
sure.
Yoshi's Island. This is Yoshi Topsy-Turvy. This is Woolly World and Touch and Go. This is all one thing.
Yeah, I mean, we can pretty much roughly just talk about the Yoshi's Island series, I guess. Like generally, the general Yoshi's Island game, you know, kind of like the crust of it is like Yoshi Topsy-Turvy and Yoshi Touch and Go and that kind of thing. Yeah, but for the most part, the meat of the sandwich is what matters here. Okay. And we're talking Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Story, Woolly World, Crafted World, the Island DS, New Island, all this nonsense.
Okay.
B. Low
okay.
B. I love Yoshi's Island, but like the franchise has always been kind of like stuck in the past. It's always just kind of riding on Island's coattails. Even if it's just like, hey, you know, you may be one of those little freaks that likes New Island and whatnot.
That's me.
But,
man, all right. No, go on. Keep going.
I mean, like, at the end of the day, they're fine games. They're whatever. But even as good of a game as, like, Woolly World is, you know, it is very derivative of Yoshi's Island. It always just kind of feels like, let's do Yoshi's Island again. And then all the spin-offs, I don't think any Yoshi spin-off necessarily, like, really does much, you know? I mean, like, what, you got Yoshi on NES, Yoshi's Cookie,
Yoshi's Safari.
And even then, like, some of these, I don't even think count as, like, the Yoshi series. I think it's more so, like, weird Mario spin-offs in that era of, like, the early 90s. And then when we get to, like, Topsy-Turvy and Touch and Go, again, like, they're not doing much. I think the Yoshi series is, like, a low B, where it's, like, it's good, but it's, like, it's always living in Yoshi's Island's shadow. I don't know. What are you thinking?
It's tough, but I do agree with you on the basis that, like, man, as an overall franchise, it's pretty rough. It's been pretty mishandled this entire time. Because even when you look at Crafted World, where they tried to do something different, it was okay. What's tough though is that Yoshi's Island and Woolly World are two of the greatest platformers of all time. Like, just those are, in my opinion, those are 10 out of 10 video games. And for platformers, those games are absolute perfection. And I like the DS ones. I like DS and New Island. Whenever someone's like, what's a bad game what people say is bad that you like? Those are always my go-to answer. I really enjoy those games. But, yeah, a lot of that stuff just really knocks it. If it was just Island.
Yeah, New Island and DS are like...
They're fine.
Like, whatever.
They're good.
They're fine.
People act like New Island is this sin, is this atrocity, because the opening song is terrible. And it is.
It's just very unremarkable, I think is the best way to put it. It's a functional game, it's fine, but it's just, it's not doing anything that the original Yoshi's Island didn't really do other than big eggs. Or egg dosers, if you will, is what they're called. I think low B.
I think B for the overall franchise, yeah, I'd agree. If it was just Island, I would make a strong argument for like A, even S, if it was just the main games. But
I think Yoshi's Island and Woolly World would put it in A, at the very least. They are such just finely crafted platformers.
Yep.
Crafted World is just kind of like a weird little, like, okay, you're doing something a little different, that's cool.
It's that same jump from Island to Story as Woolly World to Crafted World. It's like the same jump.
Yeah, where you're just trying to do something a little new, and it doesn't entirely work, but it's like, it's fine. But yeah, out of all the ones here, which one do you want to go with next? You want to go a little funky? Want to get a little serious with like a mainstay Nintendo franchise?
I like the idea of making your editor go crazy by just going completely random at all times. Let's go Ken Griffey Jr. That's one of Nintendo's. You know, we don't talk about one of the heroes all that much, but Ken Griffey Jr. They treated him like he was one of the big guys. all like the Nintendo Christmas cards and stuff back in the day. It was like Banjo, Mario, Ken Griffey Jr., Pikachu. He's a Nintendo character.
They had some weird Nintendo mascots back in the day. You remember like the N64 console box, and it had like a stormtrooper on it too?
Yeah.
Like right alongside Bowser and Mario and all that nonsense. Yep. Ken Griffey Jr. was like, I don't know. And we also have NBA Courtside on this list too. Like, Nintendo dipped their toes into the sports ring.
Well, didn't they have like an N64 sports like sub-brand? Yeah.
Listen, man, I don't know. I don't even know where this lies in the grand scheme of.
I don't think I've played a single one.
I don't know where this lies even in like honest. Baseball games.
There is one on the Game Boy, and I think that's kind of interesting that they it's a interesting Game Boy port of a console game that still counts. That still counts at the end of the day.
It counts. It turns this into a flat out IP, a franchise, if you will.
That's true.
Remember how like they were considering putting like James Bond in like Melee or something like.
Yeah, Ken Griffey had just as much opportunity to be in these games.
He did. I think this is a C franchise, I guess. Maybe a D. I mean, it hasn't mattered in years.
If you want, we could just knock them all out. Like now, you can put NBA Courtside.
Right now, which is better?
I like baseball more as a sport. I like basketball more as a video.
That's true.
So we can put it a little bit more above.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that goes there.
Play action football is another one which I have not played.
Dude, your backlog is massive.
I know. Well, aren't all the NES sports games, aren't those made by Nintendo? We didn't even put the black box sports games on there. We didn't put black box tennis and golf and all them.
That's true. I mean, there's their golf lineup, their golf series, golf, NES Open Tournament golf on Virtual Boy,
mobile golf.
Yeah, I mean that kind of counts as like Mario Golf, I guess. Maybe. It's like a spin-off of Mario Golf at that point. I don't know. Play action football, just going below Ken Griffey Jr. Because even at that point, like it's got that NES football game stank. It's like, I don't know. You know what you're getting into there. Let's do something fun. Let's do Donkey Konga.
Okay.
I think Donkey Konga is a fun idea.
That's true.
I don't really like playing Donkey Konga. I think the accessory is awesome. The fact there are 3 games is absurd. I think the fact that they tried to make this peripheral a thing past Donkey Konga with Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and then Barrel Blast was originally meant to be on the GameCube with this accessory. I think the fact they were trying to do all this is absurd, and I love it. When I actually sit down and play Donkey Konga, it hurts the shit out of my hands.
Yeah.
It's not very fun past like 10 minutes of like, this is quirky. It's made by the same people as like Taiko Drum Master. I would honestly much rather play Taiko Drum Master than Donkey Konga.
100%. I think the only interesting thing I know about Donkey Konga is there's theoretically only 3 games, but if we count track lists, there's like 6 or 7 different track lists because they released Donkey Konga 2 in Europe and has like a totally different track list. Then like, and that stuff is interesting. I don't want to play it.
They have the Smash Brothers Melee theme in Donkey Konga 3, which is interesting.
I think Donkey Konga 1 has the Kirby Right Back At Ya theme. Interesting, just when they were just acknowledging the anime. There's Rock Lobster. I played Rock Lobster a lot when I owned the game.
It's a D. It's a D.
It brought Dixie Kong back when she was dead for a while. That was the first appearance of Dixie Kong for a while, I think, after DKC3, I think. Yeah, let's put that in D. Let's put it in D. I can't. I'm trying my hardest out here. That's a D.
It's a cute idea. I think the concept is way better than the actual game. The actual game is like fine. The core of it's fine, but like when you're actually playing it, you can't hear anything because the claps and slaps are so damn loud.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So it's just like, no, it goes in D. Now, maybe the Donkey Kong franchise as a whole is next. Like let's go, like that would mean like Donkey Kong the arcade games, and the Donkey Kong Country series, like all the major platformers. And sure, like some of the spin-offs here and there. You know, you have Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which I don't know how much that counts as like a core series title, but then you have like King of Swing, Jungle Climber, Barrel Blast.
Yep.
I think Donkey Kong series has some of the greatest games of all time in there, and also some of the most lackluster games of all time. It's all over the place if you're counting the whole thing. If we're talking just like the regular Country series, it's pretty rock solid across the board. You kind of have like a little bit of a stinker with 64, but even then, I wouldn't say 64 is like bad. It's just kind of like it has its problems. I think it's a little tricky with this as a whole.
I'm gonna just go ahead and put my argument in for A. because I think it's very similar to Yoshi in that we have some great games and a lot of like dingers, like a lot of bad ones. But quantity-wise, Donkey Kong more reliably is a mark of quality than Yoshi is. Because like, man, just based off of the DKC trilogy, Tropical Freeze, and Returns, all of those games, I think all of those games are 10 out of 10. They're all incredible. Even if people argue DKC 2 versus 3 or whatever, they're all still incredible games. King of Swing and Tropical and Jungle Climber are meh, but they're better than, well, are they better than the DS Yoshi games? I don't know. See, it's the same thing. I don't know.
I think King of Swing is more of like a puzzle platformer kind of thing. You whip out on your Game Boy. King of Swing feels like the Donkey Kong series version of Mario versus Donkey Kong, which sounds confusing, but I feel like that's kind of like here's a simple little puzzle platformer. I think I agree with you. I think you have some duds in there if you're counting like the whole series of like spin-offs and everything as a part of the whole umbrella. And of course, you have the arcade games and then country and then whatnot. We had to debate whether like Donkey Kong is a series and then Donkey Kong Country deserves to be like whatever, like its own separate things. But I don't know. I mean, like, we can't be perfect here. We're not perfect. We're only human.
King of Swing also brought back the thing from Clue Land.
We're talking a lot about Donkey Kong King of Swing here.
It's a weird game. It's a weird video game.
Jungle Climber just looks kind of funky.
They are more interesting than the weird Yoshi games. So King of Swing had a weird art style, and then they said, what if we didn't have a cool art style, and we just did Donkey Kong Country again? And that's all Jungle Climber is. And then there's a banana. You help a banana alien, and his name is Xananab. It's banana backwards with an X in it, like it's a Kingdom Hearts character. It's great.
That was when they were also trying to make DK a little cool by calling him only DK in these like series titles.
That's right.
DK King of Swing. It's DK Jungle Climber. Ooh.
That's right.
Badass. I'm writing a script right now where I'm talking about like the mid 2000s badass Mario stank. That's like
with like the arm tattoo.
Yeah, like that.
Like his arm tattoo.
That's what I think they were kind of also doing with Donkey Kong there, to kind of make him a little cool.
We can offshoot that into another friend because it's very similarly Star Fox. They tried doing that weirdness with Star Fox around that time also.
Okay, so Star Fox.
It's like this weird middle ground with Donkey Kong and Yoshi where like all the big games are just derivative of the Super Nintendo game. They just keep making that game over and over again. But when they try to go original, they try to make him badass, like with assault and stuff.
I think we're talking C for Star Fox. It's not that there are more bad Star Fox games than good ones. There are bad Star Fox games. I don't like Zero. The original Star Fox was great for the time. You can still play it these days, but it's pretty rough. 64 is still a good game. That's a fun arcadey kind of game. Adventures is a great like Zelda clone kind of thing.
It gets a lot of flack for being very much a Zelda clone, but it's if you look past that, it's actually pretty decent.
And then Star Fox Assault is good for what it is, but it's also like not super remarkable. And then you have Command, which is just kind of weird.
I think I liked Command because I just liked playing things on my DS. So it's like, ooh, it's 3D on the DS, ooh, touchscreen.
And that was like the last original Star Fox game for a very long time. And then you have 64 3D, which is good, but it's just 64 again. And outside of 64 and like Adventures, there's not really a ton this franchise is doing, man. Like Star Fox 2 is cool, but it's like, I don't know. What are you thinking?
In terms of how it's handled, F tier. In terms of how it's handled, that's an F tier. But in terms of what's there, I kind of want to say D tier because 4 or 5 of the games are just the same game. I can't put it in the same tier as Ken Griffey Jr. Sorry, that's a C tier. It's Star Fox.
I mean, like there's more value there than like a Donkey Konga, So like, okay.
No,
let's make sure we're on the same page here. I think C tier is like heavily flawed, but still like there's good in there. I think D tier is like who gives a shit tier. And then F tier is like irredeemable, just nonsense garbage. Where like, I don't think Donkey Konga is that, but it's like...
No reason to play it now.
No, there's no reason. But it's like, again, like it's like who gives a shit, but it's like, it's not like I can say this is horrible.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I think Star Fox belongs in C because like there is good there. But at the same time, like I think Star Fox used to represent like a graphical showcase or like a big step for Nintendo hardware. I mean, like, you saw the original Star Fox, and the Rumble Pack. And Star Fox Adventures was like super impressive on the GameCube.
I mean, it's a technological showcase for asynchronous screens on Zero. Same with Star Fox Guard.
Who gives a damn? Okay. Star Fox Guard got like better reviews than Star Fox Zero out of pity.
Yeah.
Because it's just like people were like, well, it's more functional.
I went back and played that game recently. Honestly,
it's just boring.
It's kind of rough. I don't know what we were smoking back in like 2015, but man, Nintendo fans were really going stir crazy, thinking like, oh, Star Fox Guard is hidden gem. I went back and played like a month ago.
It's just boring as hell. Like it's functional. It's a decent use of the two screens, but like I don't care. And it's not even like a super creative use of the two screens on the Wii U. It's just kind of like that's a use for them. Okay, it's using them, and it's not completely irritating like the two screen use in Star Fox Zero. Whatever. I think Star Fox is C. There's some good in it, but it's like
yeah. They nailed it pretty good with 64 and 3D. That's great. That's a great.
Well, what did you pick Star Fox here, or is it up to me here?
Yeah, after Donkey Kong.
All right, I'm kind of interested. How about some Mario Party?
I think I would say B, because I think even the times that people say Mario Party went on this weird downtrend, people have a lot of nostalgia over 8 and evidently 9, and they're still all like almost all fun to go back to. I just played Mario Party 3 like a month ago as well. Still a fantastic game.
I think Mario Party's always gotten like weird. It's never been a critics game, so like when you look at reviews and stuff, like it's kind of like why are you even doing that? They're not gonna like that it's like it's the same game as last time, but like they just changed a couple things. I think 1 through 7 are still some of the best party experiences you can. I know 1 is like rough, but it's like it's kind of like that BS kind of rough where it's like you know you can get a little tipsy with your buddies and just be like, let's play Mario Party 1 and let's hurt.
Yep. Still great.
I mean, like the board designs are a little rough. Like they're way too simple, but like you can still have a really good time with that. 8 is fun. I played 8 recently. I played a 50-turn Koopa's Tycoon Town, and that's the best way you can play 8.
Jesus.
I don't really like any of the other boards in 8 other than Koopa's Tycoon Town. Then you get into the funky era, like 9 and 10 and all the 3DS stuff. But I think overall, I think it's like high C, low B, around there.
I would say B, because I can still go back and play 1 through 7, maybe 8, and Superstars any day of the week. Any day of the week, I can say, let's do this. And typically, people are always down. Like, there's never a time people are iffy on it. Usually, people are down to play Mario Party. And for that purpose, I think it has to go in B. And just with the mediocre era that was there in the middle, knocks it down from A. Because, man, a lot of weird duds. Those 3DS games are rough. Super Paper Mario, weird.
Why are you talking about Super Paper Mario here?
Sorry, Super Mario Party.
Yeah.
What a dumb name. What a dumb name that was. God.
It's weird that the Switch era of Mario Parties was like weirdly derivative / nostalgic over like Mario Party 1. Super Mario Party like has the old opening that's like it's just like Mario Party 1 and it's almost like a reboot, and then you have Mario Party Superstars that's like all about the N64 games.
I had the menu system was also the same like world menu was in 1.
Yeah, and even like going down the pipe and stuff, it's the same as like 1 and 2. I think you've convinced me. I think Mario Party knows what it is. It does what it does well when it's like at its peak. And it's at its peak for a very long time. You know, a franchise doesn't have to be this amazing 10 out of 10 like top tier, like, oh my god, defining moments in gaming to be like super high up there. I think when a franchise does what it does well, I think B makes sense.
Agreed. And the real kicker is Fortune Street is better than all of them.
Really?
If only you knew. If only you knew.
I tried playing Fortune Street a while back, and I don't think I really retained a lot of info.
You gotta play with the right people. Do you like Monopoly? We're not gonna get into this.
I do like Monopoly, but that's why I did like Koopa's Tycoon Town for 50 turns in Mario Party 8.
That sounds pretty mental.
That's some brain dead garbage version of Monopoly.
Yeah, it is.
What franchise do you wanna rank next here?
Ooh, you know what? Because I did a video on it. Let's talk about Hamtaro. Because
that's all
franchises that that make no sense to be a Nintendo thing, there are a shocking amount of Hamtaro games, and they're all at the very least. Well, I can't even say all. I would say that's a C tier franchise for the time era that Nintendo had with it, because they're just charming little adventure games. There's 3 of them, and the names are escaping me now since it's been a minute since I played them. But the Game Boy Color one, there's 2 on GBA, 1 that didn't come out in America. All 3 of those are. If you're ever in the mood for just a nice, lighthearted, and they're cute, Hamtaro's always been a very adorable franchise for like the anime and stuff. Those games are really cute. There's a sports game in there, I believe, and that about covers it. And then it just went into the dredges of like weird PC Flash games and stuff. But for that weird era, and we both mutually agree, is one of the coolest parts about Super Smash Bros. Brawl was there's a mention of Hamtaro in that Nintendo Encyclopedia bit, and that's great.
And Mickey Mouse.
Hamtaro should have been in Smash.
Popeye.
And Mickey Mouse also.
And all of this nonsense. Oh, we should have put the Popeye series on here. Which includes the NES game, the arcade game, and the Nintendo Switch eShop game.
That's not Nintendo. That wasn't Nintendo.
Well, it was kind of based on the arcade game, though.
But also it's delisted now, so it's not even like you can buy
Lost
it.
Media. I do have...
Lost Media.
I do have full gameplay of it, and it's on my Switch, so, you know, we're okay.
Yep.
I'm sleeping well tonight. I think Hamtaro can definitely belong in C. I haven't played enough of the Hamtaro games to really have much of a horse in this race.
Sometimes people always will, being a YouTuber, I've said a lot of opinions online, and people will sometimes judge for playing these like super childish games, but sometimes when you play something more intense like a shooter or an RPG, it's nice to have those games that are just these turn off your brain, watch the cute graphics, don't think a whole lot. I think Hamtaro fits that bill perfectly.
That's always good to have. I think Hamtaro reminds me weirdly, like when I see a Hamtaro game on a Nintendo system, I think of like the era of like the Kirby Right Back at You anime or something. Because when that was going on, I remember seeing that when I'm like 6 years old and seeing like going to a restaurant and seeing like at 10 a.m. they have like 4 kids on the TV in the corner, and you just see like that. And they probably definitely had Hamtaro stuff going on at the same time. So it's just like, I just remember this era where like Nintendo games were on, like these GBA era Nintendo games and Nintendo anime pretty much at the same time.
Well, Hamtaro was big on Toonami around that time.
Okay.
So it'd be like Tom on Toonami would talk about Dragon Ball Z and then be like, oh, this guy's kind of cute, and then show little Hamtaro. It's a good time. Good time.
For sure. I think C makes sense. But what I want to talk about next, how about a double whammy? Let's do Brain Age and Big Brain Academy. A 2-for-1 deal.
Okay.
Because these are two separate franchises, and sometimes it's hard for me to really like comprehend why these two franchises are separate and exist. Because they both kind of do the same thing, but from my experience, Brain Age is more about math, and Big Brain Academy is a little more about brain teasers.
In my mind, I differentiate it as just like the more colorful, cartoony versus like genuinely trying to train your brain. Because like Brain Age is like you have Dr. Kawashima, this licensed doctor who wants to actually train your brain, and there's some big brain benders in those. Big Brain Academy is like,
you got Dr. Placebo or whatever the hell his name is. The the phallic looking guy.
Dr. Loeb.
Dr. Loeb. I got it close.
Loeb.
I called him Dr. Placebo, but these franchises have had very, very similar histories. I mean, like, they both pretty much appeared around the exact same time on the DS.
Yep. Touch generation.
Which, again, is really strange, because it's just like, you know, I understand these both being different franchises, but them appearing at the exact same time is strange. You know, Big Brain got, We Degree, and Brain Age got, the 3DS game. The devilish game, and then nothing for a while, and then we got Switch releases. Brain Age was only in Europe and Japan, but Big Brain Academy got Brain versus Brain. Both of those Switch releases are pretty light in terms of content.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I'm such a big fan of Big Brain Academy, specifically for Wii Degree.
Amazing.
And specifically for the multiplayer mode. That is such an underrated multiplayer mode in all of the pantheon of Nintendo's library, because man, it is just so much fun racing your stupid friends to show how much smarter you are than them.
Yeah.
And I really liked Brain Age concentration training. Like, man, it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm a nerd. Maybe it's just I'm a big ass nerd with these brain trainers, but something about concentration training, it had those daily challenges, it gave you incentive to play every day. It was very challenging. They turned Dr. Kawashima into Satan. It's a very odd move for the family market. But in general,
Brain Age left more of an impact.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all the Big Brain Academy games are very similar. Like, and I just kind of feel like, I know it's kind of like, well, yeah, of course they feel very similar, but like a lot of them, they kind of use the exact same games in a lot of them too.
Yeah.
Like Brain versus Brain has a lot of the same like mini games that you'd see in Wii Degree, and Wii Degree also has a lot of the same games you'd see in the original.
That was so upsetting. I would honestly probably vet for both series to be higher on this list if it wasn't for the Switch versions.
Brain vs. Brain really disappointed me because that multiplayer mode in Brain vs. Brain is nothing. It is nothing.
Yeah.
It lasts for like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and it's just like it is such like a nothing local multiplayer mode. When you go to like the online mode where like you're playing the ghosts of your friends or like random people online, it's okay, but it's like, I don't know, it gets very samey after a while. It's kind of like you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and it's one of those games where you can see if you just present all this content in just a different way, then it wouldn't be like that bad. Like you could imagine like, oh, you can have this amount of content, but just maybe like different, just presenting it in a different way, having a different like playlist of mini games, or just having them presented in a different mode or something, without having to like put that much more budget into more content all over the place. Like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just kind of frustrating. I think they both kind of belong in C tier.
I think they both belong in C. If they nailed the Switch versions, I would say B. But as they stand right now, C. And I feel like this could be a whole other video just fantasizing how to perfect these games. But like, man, they had such character in the 3DS one with Devil Kawashima, such fun multiplayer in Wii Degree that they just didn't care with the Switch versions. All they had to do was double down on that and we would have had great games. But instead, left in the dredges, and that's honestly, they're probably dead franchises at this point. Shame.
I think Big Brain Academy on Switch actually did pretty okay for what it was.
Really?
I think it sold like 2 million or something around there.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
You know what? Let's race it. Let's find out.
As of December 22, oh, that's a series. No, that doesn't count.
Yeah. The Big Brain vs. Brain sold 11.43 million units.
I was like, wow.
Jesus.
About 2 mil.
I think that's pretty good.
Apparently, Brain Training sold more than 1 mil.
I feel like pretty much any Nintendo IP on Switch outside of Another Code will sell over 1 million units. Speaking of which, where does Another Code lie?
That's so depressing, bro. That's so... I genuinely feel like I'm the only person that played the Switch version.
I played it for about an hour or so.
It's so upsetting. I really liked it.
It didn't hook me, but to be fair, I only played it for an hour. So it's just like, I'm kind of like, I'll go back to it. I think the Switch release is monumental just for the fact they took a series of 2 games that, by and large, were completely stuck on hardware that makes it kind of hard to like bring back in any other form than like a full-blown remake. Outside of like the Wii version, you could probably like easily remake that more so than the DS version. You can't just put both games in a collection and just say, there you go. You have to do what you did here if this franchise has like any chance of coming back fully. You have to remake them fully. And the fact that they did that is super commendable. And I think Another Code Recollection is more so like, that's just really cool because that gives hope for literally every single franchise Nintendo has.
Yeah, absolutely.
The game itself, I think, is cool. I think it's a cool visual novel-esque puzzle game, adventure game.
I mean, yeah, that's basically exactly what it is. Like, it's not any sort of groundbreaking story that like Walking Dead or Life is Strange is trying to throw at you. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have any crazy gameplay mechanics or mind-blowing puzzles. It's just a solid story with some otherworldly elements in it. And the remake, I agree. That's honestly one of the craziest remakes in Nintendo's entire history. Yeah. It's insane. Like, that they really did, from the ground up, remake 2 games in a totally different style. By Arc System Works, it's just crazy. It's just crazy that game exists.
Yeah. At the same time, if it wasn't for the remake, where would the series go? I think it would go in C if it wasn't for the remake.
Nowhere. Honestly, I think the Wii game, as far as I can tell, the Wii game kind of ends on a... This would almost be disqualified from the list because at this point it just becomes one game. I think it's sad, but I do think it's D. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is kind of like a who gives a shit kind of thing, but I don't know, man. I feel like low C.
Okay, but based on the metric you said, if D is really who cares, then yeah, probably the lowest C we might end up giving on this entire video, which is a shame because I did like it. But as a franchise, yes, that's a low. I would play Another Code over Donkey Konga.
That's the thing.
So,
like Donkey Konga, you can respect just based on the quirkiness. But I think Another Code has a lot more merit to it, especially compared to the sports games and Donkey Konga. Like, we'll probably find some more D-tier stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I think low C, we can come back to that later if it makes sense. But I don't know.
Sure.
What are you feeling next? What do you want to talk next?
I think the bottom of the list is looking pretty bare. I say we get 1-2 Switch out of the way. And just throw that right at F tier as arguably the worst thing Nintendo's ever done in their 100+ year history. I think I'm confident, unless there's a retort that's worth a damn. I feel confident. I think even when we look back when this is all said and done, I think this is the worst thing Nintendo's ever done.
Okay, so the original 1-2 Switch. Yeah, okay. So, like, I don't know. Like, I think the idea behind 1-2 Switch is commendable in some ways. Like, when you think about how the development is, like, I love Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land is one of the greatest multiplayer games of all time. But you look at, like, what they probably thought of when they were developing that game, the start of the development of Nintendo Land, I can imagine they just said, we got to make a Wii Sports for Wii U. 1-2 Switch, it feels like they had more of, like, a unique idea that was like, I want to make a game where you look at each other. So for that, I commend them for wanting to do something a little different.
And you milk virtual cows.
Thing is, like, most of the mini games in here, like, I love dumbass little Nintendo minigame collections for casuals.
I do too.
But it's like, this one is like, you can get some fun out of it for like the first or second time. But after that,
at this point I only like counting the marbles in the
yeah, and that's more of like a tech demo thing. And even then, in the grand scheme of like, look at 1-2 Switch as an art piece. That minigame makes no fucking sense in this compilation. Yep. It makes no sense. Like, it's like it doesn't fit with any of the other ones. So just like either go all the way and make unique, interesting minigames that take advantage of the Joy-Con, or go full on with like, okay, you're staring at the other player and you and the screen supplements that info or something. Or like focus more on like whatever, maybe a lie detector game or something. I don't know. Where it's just like maybe like you're holding a button on the Joy-Con behind your back and you have to look at them in the eye and you have to ask them something and you got to say like, are you pressing B or A or something? And they have to lie or something. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with ideas that would make sense. Everybody 1-2 Switch. I only played once.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's one of the worst things Nintendo's ever done. In a year that was as insanely good as 2023 was for Nintendo, it's one of the worst things Nintendo's ever done, and the story leading up to it is hilarious, where they were demoing the game, everyone said it was terrible, and then they released it anyway.
I love the tweet when they announced it. Everybody 1-2 Switch is coming to Nintendo Switch.
It's coming to Switch.
That's it.
That's it. Just so you know.
I remember, I think I was working with my friends that night. I think I was working on like one of my Wii U retrospective. That finally came out or something. And like I look at my phone and I'm like, huh. Hey, look at that. We gotta play that. And then we play it, and it has less content than 1-2 Switch. It's cheaper, which is commendable.
I've seen it go for $10 now.
That's cool.
I still won't buy it.
I bought it. I played it once. There's some dumbass cute things you can do in it. But it's like, it's not worth it. I mean, like, you got to be in the right mindset to play that. And even then, even when you're in the right mindset, you know, this isn't anything great. Like, this is just like, why are we playing this?
Finding a color with your phone was cute.
Yeah, I think F tier makes sense. You know, the fact that they even greenlit a 1-2 Switch sequel feels like the most corporate, dumb thing Nintendo's ever done, where it just feels like a big business guy looks at the numbers. It's almost like why Konami... And, like, this sounds really harsh towards Super Bomberman R2.
Oh, no,
but it feels like why Konami greenlit Super Bomberman R2, and then they just released it, and nobody played it. Nobody bought it. I bought it. I haven't even played it yet.
Same.
Nobody bought it because it's just like people bought these games because they were launch titles, and there was nothing else to play. So they're like, oh, I know Bomberman. Oh, this is the new Nintendo thing. I'll buy this. And that's it. So it's just like these two games coming out around the same time as each other, too. It's like trying to make a Switch launch title work 6 years after the Switch launched.
Breath of the Wild got a sequel. 1-2 Switch got a sequel. Xenoblade got a sequel. Mario Odyssey didn't get a sequel. Look at what we're at. Look at where we're at.
What about all the other Switch launch titles? Skylanders Imaginators and Just Dance 2018 or 2017.
Okay.
Never got a Just Dance 2017 too.
That's a fair point.
How about Dr. Mario.
Okay.
I like Dr. Mario. I've never been passionate about Dr. Mario, though. I think it's kind of hard to be passionate about Dr. Mario. I think when you kind of look at the other puzzle games in Nintendo's repertoire, even if you want to count like the licensing of Tetris, you know, I love Tetris. I love Panel de Pon, Puzzle League. Dr. Mario's kind of at the bottom of those three for me.
Dr. Mario's a fascinating franchise just to see how they attempt to change it up every time, as minor as it turns into being. Because you got the original, then on Super Nintendo they said, now we have Tetris. 64, so now we have a story mode. GameCube, the one also, that one has Panel de Pon and Yoshi's Cookie in it, so that was fun. There was online on the Wii. They gave Luigi a doctorate on Wii U.
Those O-shaped pills suck ass. I think those are dumb as hell.
It's very annoying.
I think those are dumb as hell.
There's no Dr. Mario on the Switch, which is strange. I think they finally run out of steam. But, underappreciated gem, and it's so... This is where we talk about lost media. Dr. Mario World was so much fun. That is the best mobile game Nintendo ever did. I will die on that. And it's dead now.
I gotta be honest, like, I thought it was very... I like, when Dr. Mario World happened, I was like, wow, that's perfect. I think Dr. Mario would be great on mobile. And then I played it, and it felt a little too, like... They readapted Dr. Mario to mobile, and I didn't give it the time of day, to be honest.
I don't know. It had online multiplayer, and I won like 6 games back to back, and then I haven't played it. I didn't play it after that. So I was like, this game's great. This game is awesome. I felt that energy rush. I saw online where they were adding, there's like a Goomba stack as a doctor, and that's just funny. That's all I got. I mean, Dr. Mario is just a very solid puzzle game, but they do not change with it. If you compare it to Tetris or Panel de Pon, at least they do attempt thematically to change things up with each entry. Dr. Mario is like, same game again.
I think C. Yeah, I think C. It's C. Fine. It's just hard to really give a damn, honestly.
If they like Tetris affected Dr. Mario, we'd be having a different topic.
It's just like this super trippy one. That would be pretty sick.
Yeah,
it's just like you're getting kind of high on medications and whatnot.
Yeah,
silly.
That's a thing Nintendo would love to be associated with.
That'd be pretty silly. I think, I think it's C. I like Dr. Mario, but I'm not very passionate about it. It's like one of those where it's just like, if it's there, I'm like, I'll play that.
It blows my mind that Dr. Mario 64 story mode is just one giant Wario Land 3 reference.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's so mind-boggling to me. But that's the most interesting thing Dr. Mario's got.
Well, Dr. Mario 64 is probably like the last time that franchise has ever like tried to be anything more than just a puzzle game that you just like, I want to play it. Okay, cool. 5 minutes and I'm good. Because like that was the last time that series even had 4-player multiplayer. You know, like they just didn't do that ever again, which is strange. But yeah, I think C makes sense. What do you want next?
On that topic, Puzzle League. Let's just go ahead and dare I say, Scott Wozniak, dare I say, first S tier of the video. There's not a single dud in that batch, and every single game is different thematically.
Planet Puzzle League isn't my favorite thing in the world.
I think the touchscreen stuff is fun. I think the touchscreen stuff outweighs, well, it's not better than the other ones, but I think it outweighs the generic theme by like not having Yoshi in there. I think it's fun to play that way.
Yeah, that is true. There's not really a single
Pokemon Puzzle
bad Puzzle League game, and I love Puzzle League.
Nope.
I love it to death.
Plus the DS one, it doesn't matter anymore, but it had online, and that was super fun. And that was the only one no other Puzzle League game had online.
I will agree. I think Puzzle League is one of the most addictive and just, like, I don't know. I can zone out and just play it, and I'm still bad as hell at that game. I'm not good. But like Tetris Attack is like one of my happy places. I love playing Tetris Attack. And when Panel de Pon came out on Switch Online, it was kind of one of my go-to ones. Like I look at my time allocated, like when you hit the details on any of the games on any Nintendo Switch Online, and it's still like up there. I think it's like 15 hours just on that alone. And it is pretty great. Like I said, I'm not as into Planet Puzzle League. I don't really like that they kind of stripped a lot of the flavor out of it. But then again, you know, like they didn't really have flavor to begin with. It's always been kind of based on a different franchise. And this was when they were trying to make it like generic for the casual audience. Try to make it seem like it's like train your brain with Puzzle League. Okay, I will say high A or low S.
Listen, man, I think Tetris Attack is one of the best Super Nintendo games.
I'm giving it a damn low S. What the
is incredible. It's like one of the only games to acknowledge the anime Has remixes of the Pokemon to be a master soundtrack, and that's super cool. The portable versions are still really good also. I like Planet Puzzle League because it had online. Even if it's generic, it had a daily puzzle mode, if I remember correctly, and that was cool.
You can't argue with it. It's low S.
I'm saying not A. I'm saying that's S. I'm saying we stick with S.
Okay, low S, because I can't. I think it shows our bias a little too much if it's like high S.
It's an opinion list. Of course, it's bias. It's not objective to.
All right, fine. Bias wise, let's put like fucking. I don't give a shit. Like let's put Dillon's Rolling Western on F.
Okay.
That's
a weird take, but that's fine.
Damn. I just want like somebody to like tweet at me or something, like a really shitty fan art picture of Dillon crying or something. Whatever. Okay. Puzzle League is low S. I don't really want to talk about Dillon right now. Let's go with something else.
Dillon. Wait. Okay. Why? Okay. I'm more curious about why the disrespect to Dillon. I thought those games were fine. I think Dillon's a cool character. There's 3.
Okay. Well, the final game is weird as hell.
So I didn't play it. To be fair, I didn't play that.
That was like an eShop exclusive over here in 2018. 2018. Yeah. That's one of those things where I find it so strange that Nintendo would even do eShop exclusives on the 3DS that late, because like that ensured nobody was playing.
Yep.
At the very least, if you did physicals and like I own the physical release of this from Europe. So it's just like it got a physical release, which is weird, because Dillon's always been like a 3DS eShop franchise. The first 2 games are pretty damn similar, and they're just kind of okay.
Real-time tower defense. They're fine.
They're just kind of okay. I think out of all those early 3DS eShop games, I think Pushmo is the star.
Oh, absolutely.
Dillon is fine. Dillon's a character, you know, like, but that's all he feels like to me. It's just like, who gives a damn? It's just a new IP that Nintendo has, and it's just like the games are fine. Dillon's Dead Heat Breakers is like a Mad Max Dillon game that's like, I don't even know, man.
Is there still tower defense stuff in that one?
I think so.
I know it's grittier, and I know they make your Mii a furry.
Yeah, you play as your Mii throughout the whole thing too, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked the idea of real-time tower defense. It was the same idea of Pikmin being a real-time strategy game. You know, it was just you get down to the field. It's the same thing as Pikmin, just with tower defense.
I'll put it in C. You really gonna put that in B?
No, I'm not putting that in B. No, absolutely not.
Are you considering putting it in D or C? I think okay. I think Dillon is fine for what it is, but it's definitely around the another code area.
It's a neat idea that's stressed way too long. You think another code's better than Dillon?
That's my opinion, though. I mean, you can argue it with me if you're feeling it.
No, I'm not caught up on my Dillon. I gotta play.
I'm not caught up. My backlog is massive. I gotta play Dillon. I gotta play NBA Courtside. I got too much going on tonight. Yeah, Dillon C. Pushmo, I'd give like high B. I think Pushmo was best with the original. I think when you get to Crashmo and Stretchmo, it gets a little complicated, and that's good. It just kind of feels like the same game over and over with just a new, like, it's just more new stuff when it's just like, this feels like it could be a franchise that transcends the 3DS eShop, but it only ever was on the eShop, you know? I felt like this franchise could be so much greater.
Well, they did Pushmo World.
Yeah, but it's kind of,
they get a Wii U.
It's just kind of,
it's the same game.
Yeah, it's the same game. Crashmo is more unique, but like these games are always like, I would play them. A couple hours in, I would just get to a point where I'm like, I'm just stuck. And it's just like, I'm done. And like, they're all very similar, and they just kind of introduce new things each time. And I just feel like these games could have been so much more than just eShop releases. It had the potential to be just so much more.
They tried to be a little unique and quirky, because the third one, Stretchmo, was one of those. There was that weird period where they had their own free to start. It wasn't free to play. It was free to start games.
Just Nintendo trying
where
to
you can play like a tiny little bit of puzzles, and then you have to pay these 4 different characters to unlock some puzzles. They did the same thing with Rusty. And Pokemon, they were doing that for a little bit.
Yeah, and I was just like, it was fine. It wasn't like you were getting like scammed. It was just kind of annoying, and it's just totally a whatever thing. But it's just like you download the game, and you play it, and then you gotta download more junk. You gotta get an eShop card. It's I don't know. It's just like felt like an unnecessary like thing to just kind of appease their investors, saying we're making free to play games. And it's just like that's all that was.
But I think B is appropriate because they're just. Based on fun and style, I think they're there. I mean, similar to Dillon. You take a tried and true idea, but you throw your character right in the action, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool.
I love the concept of Pushmo, and the Pushmo games are really great, but I just think they could have been so much more.
They were so close with the Wii U one, but no one cared, because the whole idea was you can make your own puzzles and share them on Miiverse, because that would be the way to go, and it's surprising they didn't try it on Switch, because man, there's a lot of potential in that. Maybe it's an eventual A tier if they step their game up with another entry. But of all of the eShop franchises that were exclusive to the eShop, I think
the best one.
That's the best one.
Yeah, it's the best one.
It's the best one.
I love Pushmo, but like, yeah, I think it's a B tier. How about a little bit of Mario versus Donkey Kong? This one's interesting. So this also includes like Donkey Kong 94 on the Game Boy.
Yep.
And then we go into Mario versus Donkey Kong on GBA. And then we have the whole lineup of minis bullshit.
Just a million games.
And then the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake on Switch, which I really like that game. That game is wonderful.
Yeah, I do too. You know what's weird about that remake, by the way, is that game has no right to look as good as it does. It has one of the best utilizations of HD Rumble, which is mental. Like every footstep, the controller changed a little bit based on what platform Mario's running on. Like it's unnecessarily high quality. Just a side tangent on that remake because it's just very strange.
I don't know. I mean, like, is it overpriced? Probably a little bit, but it's also like, you know, they do have like new levels in there, and like they blend in seamlessly. You know, like it's like they're just randomly throughout the adventure. It's not like, oh, they're at the very end or anything. Like, no, like they just feel like they're a part of the main game. You don't even think about it. It's wonderful, and it really makes me happy because like this is the Mario vs. Donkey Kong on Switch, and it does show that like, okay, we're done with minis, and the mini stuff is like, it's fine. I played a lot of Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 as a kid, and the DSiWare version, but it overstayed its welcome very easily.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
They tried to change things up with, I forget the 3DS one.
Mario and Donkey Kong minis on the move. Okay, here's the big problem, okay? You have this, and then you also have Monkey Ball that have the worst fucking titles in the world. It's just Monkey Ball, I don't know what the hell they're doing where like every single game has to have the word banana in the subtitle. What? Just remove banana. Who cares? Just call it Super Monkey Ball Rumble.
How will you know they're monkeys if it doesn't have banana in the title?
It's not even a pun anymore. Banana Blitz, Banana Splits, sure. I'll give you that. But then you have Banana Mania, Banana Rumble. Just call it Monkey Ball Rumble. Just call it Monkey Ball Mania.
So what were all the minis games? It was
March of the Minis, Minis March Again, Mini Land Mayhem, Minis on the Move, Tipping Stars,
and then Amiibo Challenge.
Yeah, so
right? Yeah, something like that. Mini Mario and Friends. That knocks that franchise down.
Yeah, it does.
A lot.
But then again, keep in mind, they are still quality games. It's not like they're bad.
But they're very derivative. Like we're talking about these games being derivative.
Yeah.
The DS one, the DSi one, the other DS one, and then Tipping Stars and Amiibo Challenge are all the same, with only one glimmer of hope, I guess, in the middle on the 3DS one that was kind of different. And DK94 still clears all of them.
Yeah.
DK94, they were cracked out with that one. Like that game is still fantastic. Mario vs. Donkey Kong's really good. And then it's like, you have to pick one of the minis games in order to feel sane. Because I made a video on all these. If you play more than one, you start to go insane. They're all the same game.
C. I think it's C.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
I mean, even at the same time, like these games are never meant to be anything more than just cute puzzle platformers.
But they could be so much more. Donkey Kong 94 is so good. And there's still so much personality that they didn't get out of the remake.
I think Mario vs. Donkey Kong does deserve more respect, just in the fact that it is a follow-up to Donkey Kong 94. It is just more like sanitized. It's just more like it's Mario instead of like, holy shit, this is like Donkey Kong on fucking steroids.
They got rid of the Italian gibberish.
Yeah.
It's so upsetting.
But the CGI cutscenes are quite good.
CGI cutscenes are really nice.
Yeah, it's much better than the Tipping Star cutscenes, which is just like the worst.
I can make
PNG.
That in 20 minutes in Adobe Premiere.
Either way, C tier works great.
Yeah, C tier works.
What are you feeling next?
Endless Ocean. Let's see where we lie on the Endless Ocean train.
This is what's really nice about Nintendo, and also like really cool about like the Wii era that I don't think gets enough respect. It definitely takes ideas that you've never really seen in a video game before, and like it like name another game like Endless Ocean. You can probably find Scuba Diving Simulator 2024 somewhere, but it's like Endless Ocean is such a unique franchise. There's nothing else really like it. At the same time, it's kind of hard to be like, oh my god, this is incredible. This is the greatest thing of all time. But I think it's very respectable. I think it's a very relaxing game. The fact that you can use your MP3s in the first game is pretty cool.
Second game had Wii Speak.
Yeah. I think it's C tier.
Honestly, I brought us into this topic, but this is all on you. I have not played them.
I think they're respectable. I think it's just like, I don't think it's who gives a shit territory at all. But it's also like, I think it's weird to put it in B tier next to like Mario Party and like the Yoshi's Island games and be like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't,
exactly.
Yeah, I think, I love casual Nintendo. At the same time, you just got to be realistic about some franchises. It's a C tier.
Wait, wow, it's a C tier, but it's an ocean game?
Wow. That's kind of cute. Look at that.
Oh,
it's
God.
Kind of funny. Listen, let's do something a little interesting. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Okay.
This is like one of the most... It's really core fans that love it. Mm-hmm. And then nobody else.
Yeah.
Nobody else likes this series. But then there are people that are like, I love Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And anybody else that tries it is like, I hate this. This is so boring. This is the worst thing.
So I wish I was more equipped for this topic. So I've been researching a lot of the Pokemon spin-offs for like a potential video in the future. So similarly, Mystery Dungeon, Ranger, all these games, I'm like trying to learn. And the people who are into Mystery Dungeon specifically say Explorers of Sky is the DS one, the third version of the DS one. It's supposed to be one of the greatest stories ever told. That's how the fans are laying it out to be believed. It's the best Pokemon story ever told.
Godfather Part 2 and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Godfather Part 2, Super Paper Mario, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky. At this point, I've only played the remake on Switch. It's fine. Mystery Dungeon is such a weird genre entirely in any game it's in. Like, every Mystery Dungeon game kind of feels the same.
I feel like a lot of the people that really like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon grew up with it. They like the fact they were a Pokemon.
Yeah.
And they stuck with it.
I feel like just based off of what people say Explorers of Sky is, it should go at least in C. Just based on the bar of quality they seem to set with that game specifically. I don't know about the other ones outside of the original, which was okay. It was an okay time. The 3DS ones are apparently just okay times. So I think that's valid. It would be D if it wasn't for Explorers of Sky. Apparently making kids cry all across the world. That's what I'm being told on social media. So we got to take that into consideration.
This better be some like drawn to life, the next chapter ass ending.
Apparently it is.
What's the
ending?
If you've
ever heard the final, the ending, the entire time the kid was in a coma from a car crash.
That's like some conspiracy theory ass BS. I read like a conspiracy theory that like whatever Phineas and Ferb is like. Phineas died years ago, and like,
yeah,
this is all in his sister's imagination. You can make that argument about anything, and like, they made an entire game about about conspiracy theories online that the main character was dead the whole time.
Well, no, to be fair, so in the original, at least, it's an established fact that you are a human who's turned Pokemon. That's like a thing. That's like a plot point in the first one, at least. So it's not a conspiracy, it's like you're a thing. It's like, oh wait, you're not. And there's like almost a race war going on of like the true Pokemon versus you. You don't belong here because you are a human turned Pokemon. This is weird. I don't know. I'm in the middle of my research phase. This is all I got.
This just feels like just a Donkey Konga situation for me.
This is all on Scott. I just will put the record out there. I fought for C, but this is Scott's video.
I respect it, but I will let you take the next one. If I can take this one,
okay.
I just don't feel great putting this in C. Alright, okay. Fine.
I'm just saying, part of it is apparently these games are all good. Part of it is I don't want to get this very niche fan base as upset as they probably already are, not us putting it higher.
Whatever, you talk shit about Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures 2, and you get to have like a angry mob against you. And like, whatever. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is just a bunch of people that grew up with this stuff and was just like, this is the best thing ever. And it's just like, no.
Nostalgia's important, man. I still talk about Glover like it's one of the greatest games of all time. So
Glover
it's
I got some respect for.
Nostalgia's got some points.
You can respect it. but it's just like Pokemon Mystery done. Whatever, it's C, sure. All right, what do you want next? I know you don't like F-Zero. You want to piss somebody off?
I don't like F-Zero. Okay, if we're in the piss off the fans side of it, I'm not going to give it an F tier. I'm not that sadistic. I'm not so sadistic to give F. I mean, as appropriate as it would be, because F is in the name.
Or 0. You could just give it a 0.
Or 0. It writes itself.
Isn't that
it really writes itself.
Isn't that interesting? The franchise is
it's right there.
Yeah,
the
name is the name doesn't.
Both parts of it are indicative.
The name doesn't do it any favors.
I have made a lot of enemies in the very small but very vocal F-Zero community, in that I don't like it. I don't like them at all.
Damn.
And it's funny because the YouTuber thing is people think I have a say on Nintendo's decisions, so I'm perpetuating the false narrative that they're not good games. But hey, I don't think they're good games. It's not like I don't like futuristic racers. I like Wipeout. I like Fast Racing League. Something about the way the camera angle is, they're not as fast and hectic as F-Zero. F-Zero feels like I don't ever have proper control of my guy at any time. Bumping into the railings is like a feature. And I just don't like it. Every time I play F-Zero, I get mad. It doesn't matter which one it is, if it's Super Nintendo, if it's X, like, they're graphically impressive. 60 FPS on N64 is no joke, but I just don't enjoy them at all. I played F-Zero 99 and I won a race, and I'm like, I never want to play this again. So it's honestly my least favorite Nintendo franchise, I think, of the big ones, of the ones represented in Smash.
Yeah, okay,
to put that.
So the big ones.
Yeah, of the big ones, it's probably my least favorite.
You'd rather play Fossil Fighters?
I've not played Fossil Fighters yet, so I'm unaware. But yeah, I just don't like F-Zero, and I wish I did. I don't like to be negative. It's my least favorite Nintendo franchise.
I like F-Zero fine enough. I think GX is great.
Name more than 3 tracks in
GX.
GX.
Don't even worry about that. What I'm saying...
Name more than 3 racers in F-Zero.
Captain Falcon. Samurai Goro. The EAD guy, Mr. EAD. What's
there you
his
go,
name?
Starman or whatever. Yeah, no, I think it's Mr. EAD.
There's somebody that's kind of like... They're from Wave Race, I think. I don't freaking know. Okay, so here's the thing. I like F-Zero.
People are gonna get so mad at me.
What is it? Is it Jody F-Zero? There's like a character named like Jody Summer.
Well, there's like Fox's dad is in there as a human. There's a McCloud in there.
I like F-Zero. I think it does have merit, but at the same time, like, half of the games in the franchise are GBA games I don't give a damn about. The SNES game is like fine. It's cute to like pop in. F-Zero X is like cool. F-Zero GX is like a really cool game on GameCube to like play through. Like, I remember playing that a couple years ago and just getting like lost in it and just being like, wow, this is really cool. At the same time, I kind of understand Nintendo's mentality that's kind of like, we're not going to make it unless we come up with a new thing. I think that's kind of dumb, but it's also like, you know, to be fair, like, I think they kind of feel like, all right, there's not a huge fan base for F-Zero, so it's just like, why would we just bring it back to bring it back? So, like, as much as I don't really like that mentality, I get why I get why they brought it back with F-Zero 99, you know?
It makes sense.
Yeah, so it makes sense. With that being said, even though you dislike it, I think you at least know that it's just like, they're fine games.
Isn't it crazy, by the way, that the Super Nintendo game, it's like Star Fox, they can't think of it.
No.
Like, the fact that the stage in Smash also, like, they have the 64 one, but they were like, brand new track, and it's the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I wish F-Zero fans would get their new game. That would be this mind-blowing thing that they would love. As it stands, it's not in the who cares category. But it's the lowest C I could realistically.
I think
give it.
C. I think it is right around that Star Fox territory. You know, I was hovering around B, but like, yeah.
I'd rather play Dillon than F-Zero, to be honest.
I'd rather play F-Zero. I think F-Zero has some good games in it, but it's just like, at the same time, you don't need to play F-Zero. It's one of those Nintendo franchises where you see people beg and beg and beg for it to come back, and it'll come back and nobody gives a damn. I would love for like F-Zero GX2 or like an HD remaster of that. At the same time, Yeah, it is kind of in that Star Fox territory. I think F-Zero has a more consistent track record in terms of like being like quality games. At the same time, it does kind of, you know, like how impactful are these games, you know? I think C tier makes sense. What would you want to rank next?
You know what games are damn good, no one cares? Speaking of that, Sin and Punishment. Those are some good-ass games.
Yeah, like, I think an A tier. I think that's
honestly, yeah, I really do think A tier for that one, because the 64 one has weird controls, for sure. It's tough to get that type of gameplay going with the N64 controller, but it's still fun. And damn it, Star Successor is one of the best action games of all time.
Yeah.
That game is phenomenal.
That's crazy that game even came out around that era and it was localized here.
It was like the same year as Galaxy 2 and Donkey Kong Country Returns. Like, it was all these revivals, including Sin and Punishment. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like this was in the era that Nintendo of America was like, we don't want to publish, you know, like the whole Operation Rainfall thing of like, we don't want to publish Xenoblade or Last Story or Pandora's Tower, but we'll also publish Sin and Punishment too. Which is like the most obscure thing they could have possibly published, but it's a good thing they did, because Sin and Punishment, it may be a 2-game franchise, but it is a pretty damn rockin' 2-game franchise.
Gosh, they're so good. They acknowledged the original by putting it on NSO, which is cool. And again, controls super weird. The fact that they got that game to run on 64 as well as they did seems very impressive. I mean, same as F-Zero. It just doesn't seem like a game that should run. It's a very complicated game for the 64.
Yeah.
Like, button-wise. And then, yeah, the Wii one, really good, like, lightning in a bottle with that control scheme, because, man, that game is so much fun. Yeah. And I really feel like that is what influenced Kid Icarus Uprising's Sky gameplay. It's like, it's the same exact thing. Phenomenal games, and I implore anyone to play the Wii one, at least. Just fantastic.
Yeah, I think A tier makes sense for that. Maybe we should do some of the heavy hitters. I think 3D Mario in S. I think 2D Mario in A.
Yeah.
Because I think 2D Mario is always consistently good. It has high highs, but then you get to the low ends and it's just kind of like whatever games. But I think 3D Mario, I think the track record is very good there. You get some of the greatest games of all time. Low end, it's probably like Mario 3D Land, and that's still a great game.
Yeah, that's an easy S tier.
Yeah, I think 2D Mario, I think makes sense in A, and I honestly put it below Donkey Kong.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you have some of the greatest games, most influential games of all time there. Then you also have New Super Mario Brothers 1, Wii, 2, U Deluxe.
And Run counts. That's one of those games.
I like Mario Run.
They're fine. But yeah, the thing is, they're all fine. Honestly, if Wonder wasn't out, I would almost argue B for 2D Mario, but Wonder really shifted perspective on what's possible with 2D Mario. Like, the New Super Mario Bros. Games are fine. They are the epitome of fine. But, like, I would play Yoshi's weaker platformers over New Super Mario Bros. Personally any day. So
there's just more going on that's just kind of like 2D Mario. Like, 2D Mario got to the point where it just shut your brain off and just kind of like just let it happen to you. Like, it's just like, who cares? I think Wonder definitely brings it up to an A, and also, like, you know, you have the original Mario, you have Mario 3 World, 2 is great too, and like the land games are cute. I love Mario Land 2, and Mario Land 1 is a fun novelty. I think you have one of the most consistently quality games in the 2D Mario lineup there. You don't really have a bad game there outside of like maybe Lost Levels, but you just like, who gives a shit, you know? Like, it's just like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, 3D Mario, that's like, there's no argument. Even the people who are like, oh, Sunshine, it's like, yes, Sunshine has its annoyances, but God, that whole, was it 6-7 games, is just damn near flawless from start to finish. Yeah, some of it is aged, for sure. 64 is aged a little bit, but
yeah,
all phenomenal.
I mean, do you want to talk about Zelda here as well then?
Yeah, that kind of goes in a similar boat.
Yeah, I think 2D Zelda, I love some 2D Zelda, but like, I think you still have some weird boys in there. I mean, like, if you want to, you know, I think Zelda 1 is phenomenal for like what it did at the time. It doesn't age that well. I think you definitely do need a guide, or at least to read the instruction manual. Zelda 2, I think was overhated, but it's still kind of like, you kind of need a guide, and Link to the Past is phenomenal. But then you also have some weird stuff like Triforce Heroes, which is good for what it is.
Oh yeah, I guess we're counting the multiplayer Zelda games in these.
I mean, it is 2D Zelda.
Yeah.
I think 3D Zelda.
3D Zelda is an obvious S, because same as 3D Mario, it's like, even if you have a weird quirk with Skyward Sword, or if you're one of the people who's like, I don't really like Ocarina, it's like, fine.
Yeah.
Still phenomenal from start to finish. You're just arguing 9s and 10s.
Well, I think 2D Zelda probably belongs like still in S tier actually.
I was gonna say the same, because the multiplayer games are weird. If you play Triforce Heroes in the right environment, if you play Four Swords Adventures in the right environment, those games are great. All those games are fresh in my memory now for the video I did. But yeah, Link's Awakening is fantastic. Both Oracle's games are fantastic. Minish Cap's fantastic.
Yeah.
The DS ones are not. Those are like the weakest games.
It's kind of like they're still fine games. It's not like they're bad.
Yeah, and God, Link Between Worlds.
Oh, it's a phenomenal game. The low points of 2D Zelda are still good games. They're just like, they just have like some weird, they're just weird. The low points of 2D Mario, I mean, you have lost levels, and then you also have the new Super Mario Brothers series, which is just like, it's just like so nothing. Where like you don't really get that with 2D Zelda. So I think 2D Zelda still belongs in S tier.
I agree. Better and worse than Puzzle League? I don't know. I mean, we'll finalize that placement at the end.
What do you want to do next?
Let's just get Kirby out of the way. That's another S.
Wow.
That franchise don't miss. That's not true. That franchise definitely doesn't always not miss, because Star Allies. It was like a weird period in the late 2010s for Kirby, but in the general scheme of things, it has many weird dingers as 2D Zelda. Because like Blowout Blast was weird, Star Allies was weird, but more times than not, that is a franchise that hits home runs like almost every single time.
I think Kirby's always been like a very like even with its low points, you understand why they're there, and it's not like they're bad games. It's more so like, let's look at Star Allies. I don't really care for Star Allies, but you understand why they made it, you know? It's supposed to be entirely based around co-op, and that's its biggest problem, is that, like, I don't really think they conveyed that well enough. Even on, like, the name, it just kind of seems like it's a generic Kirby game. I played it as a traditional Kirby game, and it was boring as hell. But if you play it with friends, it's fine.
And it got better over time with the DLC. That stuff was really good. But yeah, like, you know, I'm very clearly biased in this regard for Kirby, but I'm biased for a reason. I think it's the franchise Nintendo treats the best.
Well, because it's mostly HAL. I think HAL is like, they only make Kirby games, and then they're like, well, let's make 3 Kirby games this year.
No one loves Kirby more than the Kirby developers. It's awesome. But yeah, they just don't, soundtracks they don't miss. Gameplay mechanics typically they don't miss. I'm seeing people discuss, like, when it comes to Forgotten Land, there's no conversation about it. You just look at me like, that was a damn great game. Like, there's no conversation about it. It's just a really good game.
Even Return to Dreamland, especially with Deluxe, that's just a good quality 2D game. And like Kirby does what Kirby does best. It's just like, hey, here's a simple game, but it's simple in concept of like, hey, anybody can pick this up and play it. And even if it's just like, you know, on the lower end of the franchise, it's still always like an enjoyable time. You can still get something out of it.
Yeah, I think S tier makes total sense for this franchise.
Of course you do.
I'm just saying, I picked this franchise for a reason. It wasn't just me. I picked it for a reason. It's a damn good game.
All right.
Can't wait for the next one.
All right, well, I think Chibi-Robo deserves a C. Maybe even a D, honestly, at this point. I mean, like, there's more bad games than there are good games at this point.
So I can't say I've played all of them. I've not played the import DS game, so I don't know. People say that one's good.
Yeah,
I've not played that one.
You have Park Patrol, Photo Finder. Those are kind of like in the same...
Photo Finder's trash. That game.
I think it's at least like more like as like a cute little 3D. I mean, like, it looks pretty good for an eShop game, and like... Sure. Whatever, like, it at least has more merit to exist than Ziplash. Ziplash is like a total, like, that's just, that game just
you see, it's funny, so I know that's your bias, but I don't, I don't hate Ziplash, honestly. I think it has decent enough mechanics.
I gotta be honest, man, like, when I was playing it for my video back in the day, like, I was fucking pissed off the entire time. I was like, this sucks. I think
it has decent enough mechanics, but it has the worst level progression of any game I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was pissing me off the entire time. I'll give it a C to be fair, but like, God.
I think C is fair because the original game is great. The original game is great. DS games are neat, and yeah, Listen, I'm not about to say Ziplash is like an A tier. It's just, I can't...
It has potential. It has potential.
I can't utter that game's name without seeing gifs of you throwing it in the toilet, like, immediately after.
It's not great. It's not my favorite game, but I think it has potential. There are ideas there, but the problem is, like, none of it really comes together for me personally. And it killed the franchise. It killed the entire company. Chibi-Robo is always, like, a franchise that you looked at and you're like, this has potential. That's not to say, like, it ever really stood a huge chance. At the same time, like, it's just funny how, like, you look at every single entry and it's just, like, just never worked out. You can always see a problem there.
The Walmart exclusive box on Park Patrol is
just funny.
Hilarious.
Like, I'm gonna go get my garlic bread and stop by the the lawn chairs at Walmart, and I'm gonna pick up my Chibi-Robo Park Patrol game exclusively at Walmart.
Can't imagine why that game didn't sell.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not an amazing game.
It's fun. It's very charming. All of Skip's games are really cool and charming, but none of them, as niche as they are, they have that ceiling that they'll never penetrate because of how niche they are. Like, Captain Rainbow is a great game, but that's a C tier game.
Yeah.
I say we knock 3D and 2D Metroid off as both S tier also.
Okay.
3D Metroid, 2D Metroid, both S tiers. Like, yeah, Other M, weird, not great game, but oh my god, like, you want to talk about just constant bangers. Like, yeah, once again, NES, Game Boy, same as Zelda. Very dated.
I think you have a similar thing where it's just like 3D Metroid. I mean, like, you have like some stinker there with Other M and then Prime Federation Force to an extent. It's not like it's a bad game, but it's like, it's just whatever. You have those for 3D Metroid, and like, we could have kind of like Metroid Prime as its own series and then whatever, but like, I don't know. It's just like, it just makes more sense because like there's only other like Metroid Other M is like the only other 3D Metroid game outside of the Prime game, so it's just like whatever. Yeah. 2D Metroid, Metroid 1 doesn't age very well. Same with Metroid 2, but then you have like remakes of those and they are both so good. Metroid Zero Mission is like perfect.
So good.
Yeah. And then Metroid Dread is like, oh my god. Super Metroid is one of the greatest games of all time. I think that makes sense. And then the Metroid Prime trilogy, even though like I think Metroid Prime definitely peaked with like 1, but then 2 and 3 are still great games.
Yeah, it's like a 9-9, a 9-5, and a 9-2. Is like, that's what the trio is. Like, all three of those games are incredible, some of the best in their genre. Same with 2D Metroid. Just phenomenal games from start to finish. Yeah. Well, okay. Some weird... In Prime specifically, there's weird backtracky stuff going on, but all still, atmosphere-wise, mechanic-wise, incredible game.
It's almost not as fun to talk about the great franchises.
Because it's like, what are we getting? There's no hot... Like, okay, are there any big franchises that are hot takes? That would include hot takes.
Let's see. Clubhouse Games. Clubhouse Games, baby. Clubhouse Games. Where does that go?
That's a B.
I like Clubhouse Games.
People throw the Switch one in there with, like, Switch Sports as like, man, Nintendo's really screwing up the casual games this gen.
What?
Clubhouse Games specifically is, like, really good on Switch.
Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics is probably at least in my top 15 favorite Switch games that Nintendo's published. Because, like,
it's really good.
What's the problem with it?
It does exactly what it set out to do.
It does.
Maybe a single-player component would be decent, I guess.
I mean, you have some stuff to do there, and like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's mostly down to like, you want to play some Mancala? Go for it, buddy. Bowling in that game, it works good. It's fine. There's some weird stuff with like the fact that like you can't do 4-player on that. That's dumb. That's I don't get that. But like, I think Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics does what it does. And it's also a steal. 51 Worldwide Classics.
That's crazy.
Plus piano for free.
That's crazy.
I love it.
That's crazy.
I love it.
Talk about games being remade. Wii Tanks got remade into Clubhouse Games. That's pretty cool.
It's kind of its own thing. I'd say Shooting Gallery is a little more of a full-blown
Shooting Gallery's in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we're talking about just the Switch one, but the DS one's not bad either.
Yeah, it does what it does. It does what it does. You also have Clubhouse Games Express on DSiWare.
True. Got to cover all of it.
For some bite-sized Clubhouse fun. That kind of brings me to the Wii series. How about that? The Wii series.
Okay.
This thing is all over the damn place.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I mean, technically, we could have done like Wii Sports and Wii Fit and Wii Party as all, but like the Wii series is just...
This is more fun.
Yeah, just doing the whole thing as a whole. Talk about highs and lows. Like you have some great casual games in here, and then you have some pretty dog ass games.
I think you or I are in a similar boat where Wii Sports Resort and Wii Play Motion, incredible games. Like, just fantastic. Technical showcases, still fun minigame collections. Both those games are great. Then the further on you go, Wii Music, Wii Fit's fine.
Wii Fit U is great. Wii Fit U is pretty good.
Yeah.
For what it is. I'm not going
For what it is.
Holy
Wii Party's cute. You have Wii Chess. That's a game.
I do have Wii Chess.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm confident with saying B because that's another game that gets too much crap. I think Switch Sports is fine too. I think Switch Sports is a fine enough game. It's not as good as it could be.
It does the bare minimum for being a Wii Sports successor on Switch. That's all I can really say about it. And like, I don't know. I mean, like, the more you analyze that game, the more it's pretty pathetic. It's like, oh, golf came late. It's just a bunch of courses remade from Wii Sports. It just, you can't even come up with new golf courses. And like, these were even remade from the damn NES golf game. What are you doing?
And the unlockables were dumb too, because it was like per week. I don't even know what they're doing now. It's been like over a year.
It's all cosmetics.
But mechanically, it's fine.
It's fine.
I've made peace with them peaking at Wii Sports Resort and Wii Play Motion. That's where they peaked. And they'll never hit it again.
It's just dumb that like you barely go above what Wii Sports offered. And even then, like, Wii Sports offered a bit more in terms of like variety in terms of sports. And then you have all the side modes like, you know, the Wii Fitness, the Wii training stuff, multi-pin bowling challenge, all that stuff. Yeah, I think the Wii series as a whole, it's really hard to judge it as a whole because it's just a bunch of random games at this point. Like, it's just all these games that use Mii's. That's pretty much what it is.
Or what were they called in Switch Sports?
Sportsmates.
Sports.
And they piss me off. I think they're dumb. I think low B.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At its lowest lows, like, I don't think it's abhorrent. I don't think it's like the worst thing of all time. Wii Music is dumb, but it's just like,
yeah, Wii Music's dumb.
It's a noisemaker. It was always meant to be.
Wii Fit is really fun. Wii Fit is really, like, if you just play the minigame part of it, Wii Fit's fun. You're not going to really lose weight on Wii Fit.
No.
Like, it's not going to fulfill that purpose, but the minigames are fun. So whenever they were on their minigame kick, they typically did pretty good.
Yeah.
Because Wii Party is halfway decent also.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just like, I think at the very lowest, most of the games are like, it's fine. But it's just like, highest is just like, this is the best a casual minigame collection could possibly be. That is the Wii series at its best. And for that, I think it's B.
Yeah, I agree.
Where does something like, I don't know, Nintendo Labo go? I think C or D. Because Nintendo Labo is an amazing idea. And they accomplished that idea. The video game portion of it sucks ass.
Yeah, because, man, there's a whole topic that can be made about Nintendo's casual representation. Because, like, idea-wise, they're on as big of a high as they've ever been. But yeah, game-wise, like, there is nothing in those Labo software. I barely call them a game. Like, the Labo software kits are so bare bones. It's upsetting. Because it's cool. It's cool what they were managed to do. Like, the VR stuff's interesting. A giant robot has potential. The vehicle thing is neat. And it's like, they tried, because you can use the vehicle kit in Mario Kart. I don't think there's a single soul that used the motorcycle kit in the latest Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass.
Yeah.
No one did it. It's like that's a thing no one has done. It's a shame. Yeah. It's a shame that is D tier. It deserves D tier, and it's a shame because it should be better.
I remember putting together the variety kit. I remember you and I both made like Nintendo Labo videos around the time that like this thing came out. I just tried the variety kit, and I'm like, this has so much potential. But even just like the bare minimum, it's like what I'm talking about with like Big Brain Academy. You can see like a very minimal amount of content, but just the way you present it is like with the fishing game. Why not just offer medals for getting a amount of fish, or just do like an arcade mode, a score attack mode, a time attack mode, whatever. Just do like random modes that like keep you playing or like give you a reason to do anything, because like these games were so lacking. But like the core concept behind them is like, it's fun, but like there's nothing to do past like the first 5 minutes you play them. You get the idea. It's over. And then you just have a closet full of cardboard nonsense that you're never gonna use again.
It'd be a different topic if maybe they incentivized other developers to utilize the cardboard as well. Maybe we would be speaking more high about the Labo software itself being mediocre, but not many third-party games even use it either. You can play the entirety of Breath of the Wild in VR.
You can.
It's okay.
I saw the little life hack you could do where you could use PlayStation VR to get a general gist of
Really?
it. Yeah, you can like use like the PlayStation VR's theater mode or something and do like this finagling where like you put like the Switch like in the docker in a weird way or something like that. I forget. But I was able to test it out via that without buying the VR kit initially. I do have the VR kit now, and like, yeah, what a nothing thing.
I think the best use was like, there's a rhythm game called Demo that you can use the Labo piano.
Good for them.
That's like the only thing I got out of it.
I feel like my piano's probably rotted to nothing at this point. Like it's probably not even gonna work very well at this point.
We can throw Game Builder Garage into that conversation as well, because that's like,
again,
it's the same thing.
Missed potential kind of thing. Like you can imagine this going so much farther, but like they just do so little with it. Nintendo is like nearly there with all these franchises, and then they just don't go that one extra step to make them legitimate things. Game Builder Garage, you got to go out of your way to find all these games. Like you can upload them online, but then there's no way to find any of these things.
And I tried to research what some of the best Labo games are, and quite frankly, the ceiling on potential with that engine is very minor.
Yeah.
It's very low. It's a very low ceiling of what's possible. Because like they tried that in the Labo kit, you can make they have a whole system where you're able to make your own big things. Like what Nintendo needs to have done is be like, you can make this. Look at what we made, and you can make this too. But they just gave you the engine and said go.
Yeah.
We can't think of any ideas, so you give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I think D makes sense. I want to talk a little bit of WarioWare.
That's an S tier.
Is it an S tier?
Yes.
I don't know, man. I love WarioWare, but like, I might argue with you here.
Outside of Snaps, outside of the DSiWare one, where have they really had missteps? Because even Game & Wario is kind of fun.
I understand that, but it's like Game & Wario is like, parts of Game & Wario are good, but then you have like a lot of elements of WarioWare that are kind of like, I play them and I'm like, I always feel like it's just missing a little bit more. Like, I just kind of feel like they should have a little bit more to them. All of these games you beat in 2 hours, and then it's just kind of like, all right, go back and do just go for high scores. And I just feel like at this point in gaming, I feel like it's not crazy to expect more out of like WarioWare. I thought Move It was great. I thought Get It Together was great. But I feel like we're gonna be in the minority there. I feel like anybody else is gonna look at those games and be like, this game is 2 hours long. I pop it in, I play it, and I'm done. And it's just like, what else is there to it?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess replayability would drop it down, but WarioWare is always a title where whenever I see it, I just get excited at the prospect of a new one. One thing that goes underappreciated is WarioWare Get It Together had this weekly tournament mode. That was like this really fun reason to go back to that game often. I think if they were to really dial in more for multiplayer and then more of those things, you could have a really ultimate experience. But then like Move It didn't do any of that stuff. It was just another WarioWare game. But that being said, it's an incredible WarioWare game.
It is. But I feel like WarioWare kind of peaked with like smooth moves in many ways. Like that was kind of like where that series peaked. And then since then, they didn't really know what to do. So they did like, they just kind of threw a bunch of shit around. Game and Wario. And then they were like, okay, let's revive the series with Gold. And I love Gold. Gold is great.
Gold's great.
Get It Together is really, really good. I think the idea behind Get It Together is great, but it was kind of relieving to see them do Move It. Just kind of like do a more like basic WarioWare game that was kind of like, hey, let's do smooth moves, but like more expanded. I would argue A.
Yeah, I think A makes more sense.
I think S for WarioWare. That's us being little gremlins.
See, I got locked into S because I was like, they're all great. Like they're all great games. But realistically, because I played them once and then didn't really go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, WarioWare. I would say, yeah, probably low A for that.
Because like, yeah, the worst it gets is like Snapped. I think Mega Party games on GameCube is kind of dumb. Like multiplayer is great.
That's another one. Okay, multiplayer.
Multiplayer is great, but then it's just recently. Like at that, like look at it critically. It's a damn GBA game, and they were not ashamed of it, and they just like, let's just add multiplayer, and that's all they did. I think low A personally. I think that makes sense.
What I would say is Wario Land, that gets an S tier,
okay.
And that I'm not going to think about. I'm not even going to think or feel like I need to go back on that.
A low S?
Yeah, no, that's a low. Yeah, it's a low S. But still an S tier, because like, man, I was so happy that when I I did a video on it just as an excuse to go back through all of them. They're all great. They're all different. They all have very different themes and mechanics and objectives. They're all great games. There are some iffy ones in there. Wario World's weird.
Yeah, I was raising my hand. There's Master of Disguise. Sir.
Master of Disguise is not good. Apparently, I'm in the wrong because I upset some people with that, which was a weird
That's like
take.
some dumbass Pokemon mystery dungeon kind of gremlin people there, man. I don't know.
But dude, Wario Land, there's some of the greatest platformers that Nintendo's ever done. Wario Land 3 is phenomenal. Wario Land 1 has this like really cool, gritty art style, like when Wario had this weird, his offset eyes. It was just a very weird gremlin of a character. 2 is really good. 4 has crazy speedrun potential. Shake It's fantastic, has a great art style. World is fun. It's a little repetitive. Master of Disguise is not good. Virtual Boy is great.
Wario World is just more of like a cute little novelty. The fact that it happened is interesting. You know, oh, here's a 3D Wario game. Okay, and they did it. And I feel like they almost did it just because it's like one of those things that's like, oh, the developer name matches with the thing. Do you ever remember like rumors? I remember rumors that like Rocksteady, who makes like the Batman Arkham games, are gonna make like a Ninja Turtles game or something. It's just like, oh, Rocksteady, like the character from...
It makes perfect sense.
It's just like, okay. Treasure, oh, they made Wario World. Just something dumb like
cute.
that.
Very cute.
I think Low S makes sense for Wario Land. It's just it's a series full of just bangers.
And it's underappreciated bangers too because they were Game Boy exclusive.
But like that was kind of
so good.
That was kind of where what 2D Mario became for a bit there. That was like that was your replacement for 2D Mario. But how about, I mean, Smash Brothers? I think that belongs in S. I don't really think.
Yeah.
Do you feel kind of the same where it's just like, I feel like Smash Brothers is just kind of, it's a little boring to talk about nowadays.
We went through like 6 years of no one would shut up about it.
I feel like it's almost gone to like this point where it's like, Smash Brothers was the big thing everybody loved talking about, and now it's like, I feel like Mario Kart's kind of overtaken that now, and I feel like eventually Mario Party's gonna overtake Mario Kart. I don't know, you know, like that's how I feel, at least with me. That's what's fun to discuss when it comes to these big multiplayer Nintendo games. But I mean, Smash Brothers is Smash Brothers, you know.
I think the competitive scene really like takes over most of the conversation.
Yeah, where it's not really fun to talk about it as like people that are like we love the gameplay. We love like this, but like I'm not a competitive guy. Like I'm trash at the game.
I like playing with items. items.
And I love talking about just like the dumb shit with Smash Brothers, like stuff that's like, oh, like all this fan service stuff, all this cute little reference and everything. I love that way more, but it feels like when you start talking about Smash Brothers and you make like one reference to like, oh, I love this character's great, then you're just gonna see all these people come out of the woodwork telling you how you're wrong. And it's just like this isn't competitively viable, it sucks. Part of me kind of felt like with Ultimate opening the floodgates to like any character is possible, and like it just almost made things a little less fun to speculate on. I don't know. Part of the fun for me was speculating and just like doing all this stuff. Yeah. And that's still great that like all these characters are possible.
But we're talking about it as like a franchise, and like we're in a similar boat too. I think Brawl, in terms of content, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, the 3DS version is very impressive. Melee was a big deal. Smash 64 has a cool vibe to it. I think the Wii U one is the one I would be least incentivized to play, honestly.
It's still great, but it's like, you know, like it just got replaced by Smash Ultimate pretty much. And like I just feel a little burnt out by Smash Brothers, I feel like, because like it was just so much for a while.
That's fair. Yeah, but it still deserves to be an S.
It's an S tier.
What's another one? There's got to be another one. There's got to be another S that we just throw in there.
I mean, Mario Kart is pretty damn big, but like where would you put that?
As a franchise, I would still, as like an overall franchise, I would still put high A.
I think that's fair. Because like Super Mario Kart, I don't really like to play. It's cute.
Nope. Same with Super Circuit.
And Mario Kart 64 is like, it used to be the best game in the franchise. It was like the one to be. You play it nowadays, I'm like, this game sucks.
It's very tough to go back to.
And even then, like, I love Mario Kart Double Dash, but like going back to it, like, there's not a lot going on there, to be honest. Like, it's still really fun.
Also, I feel like Controls Double Dash is hard to get back into. Also, I tried to get recently. Very slippery. I mean, but the latter half of Mario Kart's great. I think DS, Wii, 7, and 8 are all at the very least solid. Because like even 7 being whatever is still leagues better than 64 and Double Dash in my opinion. But based on the entire franchise, if only half of it is like this incredible they nailed it, then at the very least, it has to be in high A.
Well, even then, like, the other half is, like, it's still fine. Like, you can look at it in a vacuum and like, and the time it came out and be like, this was great for when it came out. I would give Double Dash, like, a lot of credit. But these days, like, I'm kind of like, I'd rather just play Mario Kart Wii, like, than Mario Kart Double Dash. And I always thought it was, like, the other way around.
I've gone back and played some 7 recently, because I'm in, like, 3DS nostalgia mode. The game's really good. Obviously, like, when it came out, it was like, oh, it's just Mario Kart again. Yeah. But it's good. It's still really good.
That one definitely has the least, like, flavor, least funk to it. Especially because, like, Mario Kart 8 is pretty much just, like, Mario Kart 7 enhanced and better, you know? Yeah, I think Mario Kart is, like, high A.
Yeah, I agree.
How about Pikmin? I think Pikmin is an S tier.
S tier.
There's nothing it really does wrong.
That's another thing like Yoshi, man. Hey, Pikmin's also a good game. That game gets slandered all the time. That's fun. And if that's the weakest in the franchise, bro, it's
pretty good.
They're all incredible games. That, yeah, they have their quirks. Pikmin 2 is a very mean game. It's a very mean game. That game wants you to die, but it's still fun. But damn it, like, Pikmin 1's incredible, Pikmin 3 is incredible, Pikmin 4 is one of the best things Nintendo's ever done.
I still need to finish Pikmin 4. I got, like, I'm probably, like, a third of the way through, and I'm like, this is
It's so a long good. Game, too. It's actually a long game.
That's why. Like, I probably played about as much as, like, how long Pikmin 3 is overall, but, like, I still need to get through the entirety of it. But, like, I just want to get through everything I can. That's the thing, so I'm kind of... I chipped away at it, and I think I stopped playing a couple months ago, but, like... I'll pick it back up. It's really good.
God, it's so good. They nailed the atmosphere perfect.
Yeah.
Like, mechanically, yeah, again, there's quirks, specifically with 2, but 2 was super ambitious. Like, immediately making a sequel that's, like, 10 times as long, almost, is crazy.
Yeah.
Even if it's not as varied. 3 was super polished and honed in. 4 was super polished and honed in. The universe is great. The characters are great. It's hilarious that everyone looks at Louis as, like, this arbinger of death.
Little demon
child.
He's
just a little guy. Dude,
he's like a shitty cat, man. He's like one that you just like you all you want is food and just dicking around with things. Yeah, I love Pikmin.
God, the multiplayer is also so good.
Yeah. To be fair, in Pikmin 4, it's a little...
It's not as good. Dandori Battle's not as... But it's still fun.
Dandori Battle is, like, good on its own. It's a cute little, like, side thing in Pikmin 4. It's fun on its own. But, like, as the only multiplayer thing, like, it's definitely a step back. But, like, you know, if that's the only major thing that, like, Pikmin 4 kind of flunked on, you know...
Yeah.
But then again, you know, a lot of people love Pikmin. I'm not arguing for Pikmin not being an S tier, but, like, I'm just talking about Pikmin 4 at this point.
Really, the minutia of the conversation just comes in, like, they didn't use the red Pikmin as much as I want. Like, it's just really minor stuff like that.
That's, like, the most, like, dorky thing we could be talking about.
It really is.
Just like, did you use the red Pikmin that much in Pikmin 4? And I just missed the red. You know what? I'm feeling another D franchise. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Mario and Sonic.
The thing is, like, it depends on your tolerance for minigame collections. I know a lot of people throw minigame collections out immediately. But for me, it always comes down to hitting the good vibes. If you have good, consistent vibes, and I think the two Wii ones are, well, Winter and London, those games hit the vibes perfectly.
Yeah.
Everything else, not good.
The Switch one is, like, it has cute elements, but, like, it's, like, the most middling Mario and Sonic game, and then you have the Wii U ones, which are bad. The first one, which is not good. The two Wii ones are, like, fine. Like, they hit pretty decent, like, scores in terms of, like, okay, like, this is what Mario and Sonic should be. It's still not amazing. It's still, like, this is, like, bare minimum what these games should be.
The handheld ones have funny story modes. It's like Bowser and Dr. Eggman want to take over London with snow. It's stupid. It's great. And I do like the story mode of the Switch one because it just looks like a Newgrounds animation.
Yeah.
I don't know what compelled them to do that, and that's kind of why I wish there was another one just to get more of that.
It was the last thing Alpha Dream ever did.
Was that wasn't Alpha Dream?
Yeah. Alpha Dream did the 8-bit stuff in Mario and Sonic on Switch. And speaking of which, where does Mario and Luigi go?
I think that's B. Again, really high highs, and the lows are not that bad.
Mario and Luigi, like, at its highest highs are like, damn, this is crazy. And, like, I don't know, a lot of people love, like I've always seen, like, so many fan animations using, like, the Superstar sprites, the Superstar Saga sprites. But it's just, like, then you have, like, Paper Jam and, like, the Bowser's Inside Story remake.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the remake is what killed the franchise and the company. I think the vocal element of it is like similar to Wario Land, where it's like typically if you're not Pokemon, then like the handheld only franchises don't get talked about as much.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But like, man, Superstar Saga, Bowser's Inside Story, some of the best Mario RPGs, and even the other ones at the very lowest, being probably Paper Jam, are just they're fine. I was able to play through them.
That kind of brings me to Paper Mario. Where does this franchise go?
I think similar. I think it goes B. But man, higher highs, lower lows.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I feel like it's like right next to Mario and Luigi. Yeah. I think Mario and Luigi is more consistent.
The range is higher. The range is grander with Paper Mario. Because like when you go high, you go 1,000 Year Door. You go the story of Super Paper Mario, which is phenomenal. 64 is fantastic. When you go low, you go Sticker Star. People keep wanting to throw Origami King in that conversation, but I don't care, man. Origami King I thought was great.
I think Origami King has its flaws. I think the battle system is a cute puzzle, but like as a battle system, I don't know, man. I think they do need that XP element to it, because like I dropped Origami King, but I liked a lot of elements of it, but I just felt like the battle system was like, I felt that Sticker Star fatigue of like, what's the point of this? I think the puzzles are really fun.
Probably the nerdy side of me, the brain age side of me really liked.
I can see your brain bulging whenever you're talking about all these games. All these little trivia games.
Before I played it, someone said the battle system is just Choo Choo Rocket. And
yeah, that's fair.
I locked in immediately and I was like, oh, okay, now this game's great. Because I love Choo Choo Rocket.
I think I think these Mario RPGs kind of fit in B tier, where it's just like, yeah, they got their problems. Low lows, high highs. Mario and Luigi is more consistent, but like, yeah, like franchise becomes middling at a lot of points.
Yep.
I think B makes sense. But I was about to say, since you were talking about how your brain kind of goes with the puzzle stuff, I was thinking about doing a little puzzle thing, but I'm looking at Picross and Pokemon Troze. And Pokemon Troze, you got Pokemon Troze on the DS, and then Battle Troze, and then Pokemon Shuffle is pretty much the same thing. And this is like a precursor to like mobile phone match 3 games and like Pokemon Cafe Remix, all this nonsense. It might be D. I don't know.
Troze is D, absolutely. So, do you like Bejeweled?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's fine. I can play it and it's
one
like,
of the fun parts of Bejeweled is the limitation of only being able to go one way. In Troze, you can just throw them wherever the hell you want, especially in the later ones. You can just say, this block looks like this block in the other corner. I'm just going to draft. And, like, you eliminate all thought. Cafe Remix is, I would say, is part of this franchise.
Oh, Cafe Remix is the worst. That is the worst.
And there's zero thought. It's crazy.
It's literally just doing this. And, like, I don't know where the strategy is. I only played it for a little bit. The fact that, like, a part of every Pokemon Presents is a Cafe Remix update is absurd. Yep. I don't know who keeps playing this game. I don't know what this is. But yeah, I will say Pokemon Troze is like cute. For some reason, I think the DS one, just the boxer and the vibe of the DS one feels so modern for when it came out. It came out in like 2006, and it looks like a game that you'd see come out in like 2012 or 13, which is when Battle Troze came out.
Was Troze really 06? Oh my god.
Something around there.
Yeah, it was 06. Wow.
Look at that box art. It just looks weirdly modern. I don't know why, you know?
I don't hate it. I don't think these games are terrible, but they're not... Like, you've got to be in the mood for something incredibly mindless.
It's not entirely just, oh, it's like Bejeweled, but with a Pokemon skin and, like, less limitations. But, it kind of feels like that. It's just pretty much like a puzzle game, like Candy Crush, but with Pokemon heads as the puzzle bits. That's all it is. Yep. And I like games like that sometimes, but it's like, I don't know, buddy. How about Picross? I love freaking Picross, man. Picross is pretty cool. I like Picross.
That's a high B, I think. I think a high B. There's not much that they can really do to spice it up. They do try. There are these weird spin-offs on Switch that do try to spice things up with different franchises. There's like a witchcraft one that's coming out soon. I played the demo of. That's technically Picross. It's by the same guys.
Did you say Minecraft? I'm sorry.
Did I? I might have said Minecraft. I might have said Minecraft.
I was pushing my earbud in, so I didn't hear.
I might have said Minecraft. Picross. There's okay. Picross is fun. Picross is a fun game. But there's no it's like when you think of Picross, it's just the one gameplay style. And if you look at every Picross, they've made like 30 of them.
Yeah, but I like them.
And they're all the same.
And
I
kind of want them to do so. Like, okay, Picross 3D is a part of this, and Picross 3D is phenomenal.
Incredible.
Picross 3D and Round 2 are great. It's something where like I can't just jump into Picross 3D right now. I'm gonna have to go through the tutorial again because like it does get a little complicated. But when you get in the swing of things with Picross 3D, it's so damn good. It is so awesome. Regular Picross, like I have a couple of the Picross S games on Switch, and like. It's all the same.
Yeah, but they're not bad.
No, it's always satisfying. It's always great. I just wish like they have like Picross Master System and Genesis Edition, and I'm like, great, cool. I wish they would collaborate with Nintendo, do like old NES games and stuff.
That's what I was saying before. Is there are these weird Picross offshoots by the Picross developers where there's like this Witchcraft one, which I think is what I said, not Minecraft. There's a Witchcraft one. There's like a I don't know, where you're like making spells and stuff. I don't know. That's the one that's coming out like when we're filming this. There's I think a Hatsune Miku one. There's another anime one. There's like a few of them. Gameplay wise, it's the same. It's just they try to spice it up with different themes, like the Sega one, but they refuse to do Nintendo one, and it's insane.
Well, they did them, back in the Super Nintendo, it's the Super Famicom days.
They did Club Nintendo. They did Club Nintendo Picross also.
Yeah, and like it's most of them always are exclusive to Japan, and like they tried to do like My Nintendo Picross with Twilight Princess, and that was it. And they just gave up. And I'm just kind of like, this feels like it would have been the easiest thing to just keep going. You just get a bunch of Picross games based on new Nintendo games coming out. Like that just seems like it would be a pretty slam dunk easy thing to just bang out. Because I feel like this developer probably has like a game making tool where they can just input a design, and then it just auto creates a Picross puzzle at that point.
One of the most mishandled franchises in Nintendo history is Picross.
The rise and fall of Picross.
But I wonder how much of this is actually Nintendo, because obviously the Picross name, I guess, is a Nintendo thing. But these puzzles show up on every console. So I don't know the legalities of it.
I think Picross Nintendo licenses the name to like Jupiter, who makes them, or like Jupiter makes them, but like they have maybe an agreement with Nintendo, where like it's just kind of like just put them, because like there's no reason for like Picross to only be on Switch if like, because like Jupiter publishes them, like it's kind of like, it's not like Nintendo publishes them, but like I don't know, and like it's weird how like there is this developer does take care of this franchise where like they did an all-in-one Picross game where it's all the 3DS Picross games.
That's nuts.
And it's just like when the 3DS eShop went down, they were like, don't worry, all the Picross e-games, and there's like 9 of them, and they're all the damn same, but like they were like, all the puzzles from the Picross 3DS games are included in here, and it's just all the same. Like Picross on Switch and 3DS was like a super just generic thing. It's still good, and it's still like a satisfying, relaxing puzzle game, and I really like it, but like it's B.
Yeah, I think it's B.
So and
Scott,
we did this for 2 hours. It's about 2 weeks later because we need a little bit of a breather. We need to kind of think about where we want to put.
I don't know if I'm happy with where I placed Endless Ocean.
We had to think about where we want to put Steel Diver.
It's true.
Where do you want to put Steel Diver?
Another water game. I don't think I played Steel Diver for more than 5 minutes, the first one, and I didn't play the second one. I think that's most people.
Well, I'm going to put it in F tier. Steel Diver's always been kind of funny. It's kind of been like the go-to joke game for everybody to say, like, when people are like, why did the 3DS launch go so poorly? It had Steel Diver. And, like, for some reason, like, it was kind of like Miyamoto's little pet project that he was always talking about. Like, he was talking about it at the I mean, this game series, it has a long history. So it originated as, like, a DS tech demo at E3 2004. And then it came back as a 3DS launch title. And then it was Nintendo's first free-to-play game. Just to appease investors, just to basically be like, guys, we're making free-to-play games. Don't worry. The first Steel Diver is fine for what it is. It's just a 2D submarine game, and it's slow. So the whole thing is like you gotta control your controls like a submarine, and it's delayed. So it's kind of like a puzzle platformer, I guess, in the form of a submarine.
You are stretching this
There's platforms you have to avoid, and it's kind of a puzzle to figure out when you should do what you should do. It's F tier. It's not like it's a horrible, horrible thing, but I'm like, it's Steel Diver.
No thoughts on Sub Wars? Is that the second one? No thoughts on Sub Wars?
Nah, it's like a first-person shooter in comparison. It's not even Steel Diver, man. Like, what happened to my Steel Diver? That's not Steel Diver.
Steel Diver purists are not going to be happy about this one.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were happy with it. But either way, I played that for a little bit, and like it was just whatever. Rob, what do you think about Rob?
We just want to just keep knocking out F tiers real quick.
Yeah, the Rob series.
I mean, outside of the figurine, Gyromite and
Stack Up.
That's it.
Stack
Up. How could I forget Stack Up? The robot's cool.
Yeah, Gyromite feels like it's a game that would work a lot better without him.
Yes. Stack Up is pretty fun when you are not playing the game and you could just put...
You're a little tipsy, too, because it's just stacking blocks, man. And, like, there's no video game element to it. Like, it doesn't know if you did it correctly.
Yep. It's a very important game in Nintendo's franchise history of, like, this is not a video game system, it's an entertainment system. It's not just video games, we have a robot buddy you can get. It's in the name.
That is true.
Rob being in Smash Brothers is cool. Rob being in Mario Kart's cool. Rob's own games, not great. Hot take.
Yeah, there's only two of them. Gyromite playing without Rob is fine. In Gyromite.
Sure.
It's just a little puzzle platformer. That's all it is. It's nothing amazing, but it's whatever.
Some decent music.
Yeah, Stack Up isn't really a video game, and I don't really think either of them are really that much better because they use Rob.
Yeah, the fact that you're like, these games are fun without the main gimmick, then I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to pick next here? What are you thinking?
You want to fill up the F tier is looking a little bare right now still. Let's see. Do we have any hot takes or do we just, you know what? I'm going to say it. Personal Trainer, pointless franchise.
What?
I'm going to say it. I think Personal Trainer is a pointless franchise.
Have you played any of these?
No.
What? Okay, you get Personal Trainer Cooking.
Okay.
And Personal Trainer Cooking, for what it is a pretty decent cookbook.
Okay. Has a good remix in Smash.
Yeah, and you got and also like technically a part of that. This can just go on and on and on because I think Personal Trainer is a series that Nintendo of America pretty much created because these games all have different names in Japan and Europe and all that stuff. So we have like 3 games that were never related to each other that are now a part of the same series in North America. So Personal Trainer Math, Cooking, and Walking. And they all play completely different. I mean, math is math, and cooking is cooking.
But, okay, are you trying to make an argument for why it shouldn't be an F? Or are you just doing a retrospective on the Personal Trainer franchise?
I think it maybe D. For what it is, man. For what it is.
It did come with a pedometer. It did come with a pedometer. The walking one did.
That is true, and Personal Trainer Cooking is a solid cookbook, and it got a sequel, America's Test Kitchen, Let's Get Cooking. Math is math. That point, I'd just tell you to play Brain Age, maybe, or Sudoku, or...
I almost thought the Stop Smoking game was part of this franchise, but I got my Personal Trainer-esque franchises confused. Sadly, no.
Yeah, that's all Ubisoft, baby.
That's all Ubisoft.
That's Ubisoft.
Nintendo didn't care if you were smoking.
No, they didn't give a damn. All right, fine. Who cares? I gotta give a shit. You can get your F tier.
I don't know. Someone's gonna be upset, I guess. Someone's gonna be upset, I guess.
How about this? I got another one. Detective Pikachu.
F tier. Let's go.
F tier.
Terrible. Just terrible. Oh my god, this is so bad. People keep saying that they're nostalgic for the 3DS one. I'm sorry you had nothing else to play, man. Oh god, this is so bad. It's so bad.
I mean, like, the movie is fine.
I didn't even like the movie, to be honest. That's a hot take, I guess.
Here's the thing with the movie. In the moment, I'm like, wow, this is a pretty good video game movie. I thought the effects were fantastic. I thought the animation, the creatures, the Pokemon, they all look great. I thought they all looked great, and they all, like, meshed well with the world. But it's just such a forgettable movie. Like, you kind of forget it ever even happened. And the games are just kind of nothing.
Yep.
It just feels like very generic baby's first detective game, and you just sprinkle Pokemon in there. Like, that's all it is. And, like, as a 3DS game that's just kind of there, like, whatever, fine. And then they just had to make a sequel on Switch. And the sequel feels like it was, like, I don't know. The development times in this series are absurd. They're absurd.
It was one of the first Switch games announced was a Detective Pikachu follow-up. And it looks like an HD version of a 3DS game that didn't come out. It looks bad. Runs terribly. The story sucks.
I think it would have been way better if they just ported the original and maybe did like a little epilogue or something on the Switch version. Because like at this point, I'm like, who even played the 3DS one? That came out in 2018.
And they called it Returns. They called it Returns like he was gone for a millennia.
Yeah. So it's not even like you can really play this by being like, oh yeah. Like even looking at the game, like you're gonna think like, if I should have played the first one.
Right? Yeah.
Like, it's Detective Pikachu Returns.
So, like, my logic with this is, like, I get it if it's like, oh, this is a game made for children, right? It's like baby's first Ace Attorney, whatever, baby's first detective game. And if me, a grown man, complains about it, people are like, well, it's for kids. What else should they play? Pokemon. Just get the kid to play Pokemon. You don't need that. It's not good. It's not good. I think the worst Pokemon spinoff. We got a few in here, but I think
I got one.
I would put Rumble above it. I would put it's not
Rumble.
good. I'm not saying it's a good franchise, but I would say it's still better than Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not really thinking that much about which I dislike more on a day-to-day basis. So I don't really know if I have a direct answer. I mean, like Pokemon Rumble. At least there's something to, I think, like the first WiiWare game and, the 3DS.
The first 3DS one is decent, since they're still fresh in my memory. It's decent. It's about as decent as if you can get behind any of, like, the Warriors games and just how mindless they are. Then there's some enjoyment to be made out of Rumble, but they did not capitalize on the one time they had something good and then just decided to pump it out like crazy, and they sold the stupid toys at GameStop, and the Wii U game was bad.
I think the Wii U one is so offensive.
It's bad.
It's so offensive. That is genuinely abysmal, and it was also really expensive for what it is. It was like $18 on the Wii U eShop.
Oof.
It's a weird ass price. Oof. It was a weird ass price.
I put it one notch above Detective Pikachu, but still F tier.
I mean, like I don't think they belong at the very bottom of the barrel.
I honestly, of what's in the F tier right now, I would probably put Detective Pikachu still at the bottom. I hate Detective Pikachu.
Whatever, fine.
I would rather play Steel Divers Sub Wars than Detective Pikachu Returns.
It's not that it's a bad game. It's just it's a shitty franchise. Who cares about Steel Diver, man? There's just whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right. How about this?
Okay.
NES Remix.
Yeah, I think C. I think there's enough enjoyment to be made out of NES Remix. I think there's some rose-colored glasses that go along with the entire package, because the entire package being just demos of NES games, watch the opening to Kirby, get the first mushroom in Mario 1, go in the cave as Link, it's meh. But the remix stuff, super cool. If you opened up the games and had Photoshop running at the same time, it's pretty cool. And they removed that from the World Championships, so that knocks it down a little bit, but NES Remix Pack, Ultimate NES Remix, they're fun. They're fun games.
Yeah, it's fun enough, little, just complete a checklist, try to get the best score you can kind of thing, kind of just, like, pop it in, enjoy that, like, leave it. For what it is, like, I think they're fun enough. But yeah, a good chunk of the package is kind of like the part that nobody really cares about. Everybody kind of wants the remix ones. To be fair though, I think the basic challenges do have some merit because they do kind of like recontextualize a lot of NES games that like nobody wants to play anymore. So it's just like, if I'm gonna play baseball NES, golf NES, any of this stuff, like I would like to play it in NES Remix. Just play like a little quick challenge and you get the vibe for the game there,
Yep.
So it's just like, and there's some fun little challenges in there, but so many of them, it just gets kind of bogged down by the boring tutorial ones, and you just feel like they could go so much farther with like SNES Remix, or just like, a better game selection for some of them, or whatever. I mean, to be fair, I think NES Remix 1, I kind of like that it has like dog shit games, because it's kind of like, I mean, like, it makes it so then, like, hey, there's a reason to play these games now, if they're in, like, these little WarioWare-esque challenges.
When you get the more complicated NES games in there that have tutorials and stuff, it bogs down the simplicity of the black box NES games that are just, you just look at it and you know how it plays. So that's why the second one is a little more bogged down with tutorials, and it was unnecessary. But if they did SNES remakes, they would probably do the same thing. Be like, here's how all the buttons work in Super Punch-Out before playing the first one. But they have not reached the potential of this franchise.
No. But I think the extra modes that they've had are cool. So it's just like you have like the World Championships mode in like NES Remix 2 and Ultimate NES Remix on 3DS. I think Ultimate NES Remix on 3DS is great because like it's kind of like a best of pack, and being in a handheld form is like cool because like that's where this works the best. But yeah, I think C makes sense because it's just like it doesn't light the world on fire, but it's it's fun enough, and I think they're fun uses of the fact that you own all these old games. I like it.
We'll come back to this in 5 years when they inevitably do Nintendo World Championships SNES edition. They'll bound to get to that at some point.
Yeah. And then at that point, what the hell do we call this series?
I know. That's a conundrum for another time. That's a conundrum for another time.
Well, what are you feeling here? Which franchise do you wanna rank next here?
I want to speak a little bit positively now. Let's talk about Starfy. Because Starfy is one of the biggest unsung heroes of Nintendo's portable era. There are so many franchises in Nintendo's catalog that only had a presence on handhelds. They wouldn't really make sense on console, so they just make these cute little adventures on handheld, and most of them are only in Japan, which is upsetting. And then the one time they brought it out in America, it did not sell well at all, which is just very unfortunate, but it's a 5-game long franchise. And Wario has a prominent role in the third one. It's bizarre. They're mindless. There's story in there that, even if it's Japanese, doesn't matter. You can still play it. I would really love Starfy to get another spotlight at some point. But for their quality, they're consistent. They're not mind-blowing. I think I would say high C.
I've only played a little bit of the DS one, so I haven't gone that far. I mean, like, I liked it. It's a quality little platformer. But, like, there wasn't anything that was, like, super, like, like, oh my god, like, this is incredible. It's just like, this is nice,
That's why I'm saying C. There's no, like, when you look at Kirby, you look at these things where it's like, it's a cute little platformer, but then it can get really good. Starfy, Starfy has a pretty low ceiling, but it stays at that ceiling the entire time. So it's consistent for 5 games. There's no bad one of the bunch. So a nice, consistent high C.
It's one of those franchises that's really bizarre, the fact that it never left Japan for so long, because there's nothing about it in particular that's like, wow, this wouldn't work well for any other audience, Like, it doesn't really make much sense as to, like, why they never localized it. But, hey, we have it now, even though we haven't had it for like 20 years, but, hey, we got it. But, yeah, I think C makes sense. Now, this technically isn't really a Nintendo franchise, but it is. We got Bayonetta. This is like one of the most consistent series ever in terms of like when you just, if you play 1 to 2 to 3, it's like just this 3-part like onslaught. And especially because like they were all kind of developed within that same like power level. It's always been an Xbox 360 level series.
Yeah.
So it just kind of feels like, even though 3 took so long to come out, like when you start playing it, it's like, yep, I'm back. it's Bayonetta again. I think it's a series that is not for everybody. It did take me a while to kind of click with me, but man, when it clicks with you, you can see like, oh my god, this is just such a crazy hack and slash with like this amount of quality and this amount of detail that every single encounter in a Bayonetta game is like the final boss.
Yeah, it's incredible. The storytelling is always all over the place and nonsensical. You're not really there for the plot. You're there for just the over-the-top insane moments and set pieces. There was a lot of debates going on about the quality of 3, if it's better or worse than 2, where does all this stuff fit in. I guess we can throw Bayonetta Origins as this into this also, and that caused a lot of controversy because it's a completely different shift. It does still feel very 360 era-esque in my eyes. This is very basic character action game that's associated kinda with Bayonetta, but I don't know, man. Going into this as intended, which I think is just enjoy the mindless action, the high quality visuals, the intense music and set pieces. I think that's an A tier. I think it's an A tier franchise. People may be a bit iffy with 3. No one really played Origins, but realistically, they're all just great games from start to finish. Just don't try not to think too hard about it, because that's not what the series is about.
No, I think Bayonetta 3 is still really good. I feel like Bayonetta 2 is more consistent in terms of its quality, where Bayonetta 3 is a little more like high highs, lower lows than Bayonetta 2. Story-wise, I don't give a damn. Like, the story in these games are stupid as hell. They're supposed to be ridiculous. Like, so I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm sure the multiverse stuff in 3 is supposed to be dumb, but I don't care. I don't care.
I think my thing is that it didn't feel like they took it as far as they could. Because, like, it just kind of felt like, wow, a Bayonetta game in multiple dimensions, and you look at, like, the locations that you're going to and the things you're fighting, and it's nothing that much crazier than, like, Bayonetta 2, you know?
You get to summon a giant spider, and you got a big old living cat that smokes with Cheshire, and that's all I care about, man.
But yeah, you know, I'm just talking about Bayonetta 3 at this point.
I liked Bayonetta 3. That's my favorite one of the trilogy, honestly.
I think I'm pretty close to beating it. I dropped it, like...
It does have a weird ending.
Years ago.
I'll say that much. Not a great ending, but...
Why do I care about the ending of a Bayonetta game, man? I don't care. You know what I do care about? Luigi's Mansion. Where does Luigi's Mansion go? So, this series is so strange. It is such a sleeper hit in terms of, like, you don't really expect it to sell as well as it does. Like, this series sells crazy numbers. For a while there, I feel like Luigi's Mansion was almost seen as like this little fuck up. Like this little like it launched the GameCube and it wasn't the Mario game that you thought you needed. It always retained this huge this cult following, you know, of just like it always got like 7 out of 10s, but then like it kind of just grows over time and people really do appreciate it now, I feel. And then you get Luigi's Mansion 2 or Dark Moon. And, you know, that sold like crazy on 3DS. And then Luigi's Mansion 3, that sold like crazy on Switch. And I think these are all great games. I think Luigi's Mansion 2 is the worst.
Yeah.
It's just kind of there. I don't think it's bad. But, like...
I think I would argue an S tier for Luigi's Mansion if 2 didn't bog it down as strongly as it did. Because, yeah, the timeline history is weird. Everyone is so raving about the GameCube now. But, yeah, at the time... It was like, yeah, the GameCube screwed up because they didn't release a Mario game. They was Mario adjacent. So it had like a negative connotation for a little while, if anything. But Luigi's Mansion 3, phenomenal game. Luigi's Mansion 1, phenomenal game for different reasons. And 2 is just very, It's cute that they're giving 2 another shot on Switch, but it's, has the arcade game too. We can't forget. There's like an arcade adaptation of Luigi's Mansion 2.
I played it. I played it at a Dave and Buster.
So did I. And, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting. The old vacuum wiggles a lot.
It rumbles a lot. It rumbles a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's just bogged down by 2. Kudos for giving Luigi his own identity. Like, that's great. Like, for the longest time, Luigi's whole identity was just he was the punching bag of the franchise. But they just made him afraid of ghosts and gave him his whole thing. So now it's like his prominent role in the movie was being spooked by spooky things. Like that's his gimmick now.
I think it's crazy. He gets so scared, but that's his whole identity. He's just always around these damn ghosts. It's always people that are around ghosts the most. They're scared of ghosts.
Right?
Like that's just
the irony of it all.
Oh, golly. I think A tier makes sense. They're all really they're all solid games. Even Luigi's Mansion 2, like it's still a solid game. Like you can't look at it and be, because I feel like for a little bit there, I saw a lot of video essays on YouTube about why Luigi's Mansion 2 was bad, and I'm like, they all bring up fair points, but I don't think it makes the game bad. It just makes the game like the least good of the franchise.
Yeah,
because I think it's still like a solid game. But yeah, I think A tier makes sense.
And also the Scare Scraper mode is good. That deserves a mention too. The multiplayer in that game is really fun.
Also in Luigi's Mansion 3, the 8-player multiplayer, huh? The only thing that got DLC and
Yeah.
got paid DLC.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
High ambitions with this
An
franchise.
A-tier franchise, baby. What do you want? What do you want here?
There's so many franchises. Let's knock out Photos With. Let's just quickly knock out the Photos With franchise.
You want to explain that one?
So what was it? It was Photos With Mario. Was there a Pikmin one?
Yeah, but like Photos with Mario only launched in North America, and then I think in Japan they had Animal Crossing and Pikmin.
There's an Animal Crossing and Pikmin. Yep. So the AR functionality of the 3DS is very cool. We had the AR games, which maybe can be classified as part of this. This could be an AR game thing. The software built in with the 3DS. There's a cute little novelty. Is like, oh, there's a hole in my table now. That's cute. Oh, I can make Mario do a thing.
Whatever. I'll just replace the Photos with name with AR games. How about that?
I know. I almost forgot about the AR games.
Makes a lot more sense.
But like the Photos With was like what? You have the card. You can place Mario. It could animate, and then you can freeze it in place. So then you can move the camera and then put yourself up there posing with Mario.
You could.
Cute.
Yeah.
Did you ever do it?
I messed around with it a little bit, and and now that I own like maybe 15 3DSs, I do have a lot of AR cards.
Jesus Christ.
They all come with AR cards. They get rid of the damn charger with the new 3DS and 3DS XL and all of that, but they always, you could always count on them giving you the AR cards. It was weird that handhelds did that back then, because the Vita did that as well. They had AR cards that weren't nearly as cute. They were like just little like icons of just generic imagery. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
that's F. What are we doing? Let's put an F. Just fill out what are we doing justifying? AR games is neat. Photos With, who cares?
It's not a game, man. You're taking
It's not a game.
But for what it is, you're getting what the game promised you. You're getting Photos with Mario.
Say the same thing for like Detective Pikachu. It's like, you know what?
And
you do get Detective Pikachu.
It was free. Yeah. Yeah. It came for free too. So like the Photos with Mario came with just eShop cards, and it didn't even cost anything more. You just get little AR cards alongside $20 of eShop credit, which you can use to buy an actual video game with.
We're really playing it loose with what's considered a Nintendo franchise.
All right, why not? Well, we could continue at Game & Watch. Watch.
There's a lot.
What the hell are we even talking about here?
I would imagine all the LCD games, but I would imagine the gallery games would have to be included. That's what it's known for now.
I'll be a little bold.
Okay.
C.
With gallery? We're talking with gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say C. I think the Game & Watch gallery games are fun. I think just the concept of these high score challenges are fun. It pays respects to the classics by representing and emulating the LCD style. They have all the Mario styles. Cool music, like music that's better than has any right to be. So what, there's 4, right? There's 3 on the Game Boy, and then 1 on the Game Boy Advance.
There's like a weird Europe only one called like Game Boy Gallery or something. Yeah.
That just has like guys in it. It's weird.
I think Game & Watch games, like the old LCD games, are strangely, like, they hold up strangely well for what they are.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think they're well designed for what they are. They're not going to blow you away. You're not going to play them for more than 2 minutes. But for what they are, you can play them and you can be like, oh, this is a really cool use of LCD technology that works really well. In comparison to Tiger Electronics games, which are dog shit. They've always been horrible, and they are not designed with LCD monitor like displays in mind. They just try to be like, oh, you're a video game character, you're jumping around and shooting things, and like it doesn't work on a calculator display. Whereas the way Game & Watch games work, like, feels like they think about what they can do with that and create a fun little high score game to keep you busy on the bus.
Yes.
And for that, I think they all succeed very well at that. And the Game & Watch gallery games are pretty cool.
Shout out also to Game & Watch Collection, I think 2 specifically on the DS, which had the one game that combined 2 Game & Watch games. I think it was Parachute and Octopus, I think were the 2. Because there was, old Game & Watch games had the 2-screen thing, like some of the old models. The Game & Watch Collection 2 on DS did that, but with 2 different games. I think it was a character would fall into the water, and then you have to get the treasure in the octopus, and I think it was all one game, so that was kind of cool. Shout out to that game that no one played.
Yeah, I only played Game & Watch Game & Watch Collection 1. on DS. That was the thing I saved up all my Club Nintendo coins for, crazy. And then I got it in when I was like 11 or 12 or however old I was. And I play it and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't need two. I get the vibe here. I get the vibe of what I'm getting with Game & Watch Collection. I do have two now.
I was going to say, you got to crack open two now, because two is actually, that one mode is actually kind of decent.
Yeah. I think it's C, you know? Like, yeah. I think giving it anything above C is kind of like, you know, okay, what are we doing here?
This is honestly something, like, we talk about NES Remix. I would love to see a modern adaptation of a Game & Watch Gallery game. Just throw them all in there with the Mario, or even all Nintendo franchises. I think there's definitely a market for just a ton of high score challenges. Okay, well, I'm getting into my game creation fan now. Whatever, C tier.
I think C makes sense, because like I was saying, like if we go up B, A, S, you know, I'm going like, come on, you know?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think it's up to you. What are you feeling here?
Yeah, let's knock out another high tier. I'm thinking Rhythm Heaven. I would almost dare immediately just say S tier. I think I would just say S tier.
Buddy, I think A. Come on.
Okay, I think every game in that franchise is perfect. They are infinitely replayable. They have incredible banger soundtracks. They have a lot of really fun side modes. Like, there's nothing about these Rhythm Heaven games that I can look at as a downside, except for they added easier minigames in Mega Mix, which was a little unfortunate, because that part's kind of a slog. But, like, just in general, like, the Game Boy Advance game, the DS game, the Wii game, they're all phenomenal from start to finish. Just, man, I can never get enough Rhythm Heaven. So when I look at a franchise as, like, I can't think of a downside, really. That, to me, has to be S tier.
I don't like the DS's control scheme as much. I think it's okay. It didn't click with me as much. I like the button control of
That's fair.
You know, the first one, and you know, you have the Fever and Mega Mix. Okay, buddy. Well, here's the thing, you know, like, I mean, like, what we got Luigi's Mansion and Donkey Kong here.
Yeah.
Mario Kart, Bayonetta.
Well, again, we're not counting individual games. We're counting the entire franchises. So, like, if Luigi's Mansion didn't have a dud, it would go in S tier.
Okay, fine. I love Rhythm Heaven. I think Rhythm Heaven is phenomenal. It's one of the most unique franchises because, like, you know, it's a rhythm game, but, like, look at any other rhythm game, and it's literally just, like, you know, hey, this note's coming up, hit it, and that's it. Yeah. But Rhythm Heaven's a lot more like, it's about keeping the rhythm, it's about keeping the beat, and it's so unique. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah, and because all the art styles change, the music styles change too, but yet the good soundtrack is consistently incredible. The art style is great. God, I love Rhythm Heaven
I'll put it
so
up there,
much.
then.
Yay!
I'll put it up there, then.
It worked.
We'll go up there. All right. Well, I'll get one. How about this? Pilotwings, C tier.
Okay. Yeah, I won't argue that.
Yeah.
I was worried where you were going to go with that. I won't argue that. That's fine.
Well, we got Pilotwings 64 and Resort.
Yep.
They're all fine. Pilotwings SNES is a very technical game. I can't really, I'm not really playing it a lot these days. I don't think I know how to properly play it. I don't think I've ever learned how to properly play Pilotwings on SNES. But N64 you can have some good fun with. And Resort is okay. It's just kind of there, and it feels more like just an asset flip of Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah.
Rather than an actual Pilotwings game. It just kind of feels like they took the Island Flyover minigame in Wii Sports Resort and they said, you know, we got Pilotwings and okay, it all works out, you know, like instead of making like, let's make another Pilotwings game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like their heart and soul was into making a Pilotwings game. They just wanted to use Woohoo Island again, which, fair play to them. Woohoo Island is like the greatest location Nintendo's ever come up with. So any excuse to go on there again. And I think the resort has like, isn't there like a squirrel suit in Resort? Am I crazy? Am I gaslighting myself?
You do have some extra vehicles, like you do have a jetpack.
Yeah.
You have like you got a bunch of different things you can do in Resort. So it's not like it's like entirely just Island Flyover, but it's also kind of just Island Flyover.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they just took this minigame from Wii Sports Resort and made it its own game. And, I mean, like it gets the job done. It gives you a Pilotwings game like Pilotwings 64. But it's also like, Pilotwings has just always been like that extra launch title Nintendo always puts out sometimes.
Yep. The 64 game has Mount Rushmore with Mario's face. So
it's cool. What, you want to put it like an A tier? or something?
I mean, it's a Mario game at that point, so
it's Mario.
Strong
That's
argument
right.
to be made. Yeah,
you can make a Mii of Mario in Pilotwings Resort.
That's true.
Dick around with that.
That's true.
I think C tier. Put it right next to Mario versus Donkey Kong. Let it sit there.
I think it's valid to say Pilotwings is very tech demo-esque, so I say next we continue that. We get Wave Race out of the way.
You do have the Game Boy game that nobody's played.
It's true.
Nobody remembers that one. Wave Race 64 was not Wave Race 1. Wave Race was a Game Boy game. And then you get Wave Race 64, which is a classic.
Incredible water physics for an N64. Like, holy cow, it looks so good.
And Wave Race Blue Storm, which is balls hard. It's not as good as Wave Race 64, but it's still fine. I think it's fine.
I think they're all fine. I think, again, tech demo is like you're playing it to be wowed by the effects and then hope the game is fun. And I think the games succeed in that. Wave Race is not a mind-blowing franchise. There aren't a ton of water racing games out there. I kind of wish there were more. But, they're fun. They're fun games. And if I remember correctly, the sequel has a cheat code that makes the announcer tired. I think there's a cheat code that makes the announcer just go from yeah to like, all right, he's going down the water now.
I think that at least deserves a C tier then.
To make sure I'm not lying to myself.
I think it belongs right alongside the Star Foxes, the F-Zeros, that thing, because like I don't know.
I was wrong. It's not a tired announcer. It's an insulting announcer. That's even better.
Yeah.
That's even better.
What kind of stuff? What does he say?
I don't know. So now I gotta play it. It just have the cheat code. But if he's gonna be mean to you, I kind of want to play that now. It's still a C tier. I'm just saying. It's a cool fun fact.
Wave Race is kind of in that like group of Nintendo franchises that a lot of people constantly be like, I want a new Wave Race. I want a new Wave Race. I want a new Star Fox. I want a new F-Zero. And then you kind of have to look at them with like kind of like a little raised eyebrow. Like, okay, do you really want that? Do you really want it? Because like I don't think you do. I think you're just looking at Nintendo games that you liked a couple like decades ago, and you're like, why don't we get more of those?
Yep.
Nintendo doesn't take care of their franchises like they do. We haven't gotten a new Dillon's Rolling Western in 5 years.
Dude, we haven't gotten a new R.O.B the robot game in God, how knows how long? Nintendo has forgotten about R.O.B.
They don't give a damn about us. How about Super Mario Maker?
I think Super Mario Maker gets a little too much flack from the social media side of things. Because yes, they didn't keep 2 as updated as they should have. But if you get out of that bubble and just look at the games for what they are, they're fantastic. Just an insane amount of content. And even though the servers are offline for the first one when we're watching this, you can still check them out if need be. The 3DS game is also very underrated because it has a full-on single-player mode that doesn't get the respect it deserves. And then 2 has the single-player mode with a ton of extra content. Like, dude, like, I wouldn't say S tier, because, again, it should be updated more, but I think A tier absolutely deserved for Mario Maker. Like, it hits the nail on the head. Like, if you want to get really technical, if you look at the online sphere, there are more creative things being done with Mario. But in terms of staying true to form with 2D Mario, having Mario 1, 3, World, New, and now 3D World, and being able to work all that into one engine, like, it's fantastic. And people have done some incredible things. Yeah,
I definitely fell out of Mario Maker with 2. It wasn't like I didn't play it much. It was more so like, it just felt deflating. And, I think it's silly to be like, to hold that much value in like the amiibo costumes, even though like they were really cool.
Yeah.
But I think like basically being like that ruins the game. I'm like, it doesn't. No. It's just kind of like it's just unfortunate. But it did kind of make that experience on the Wii U so much more fun with that and the gamepad. Being able to use that, and I think just not being able to search for the levels in a very effective way always kind of made things needlessly complicated with Mario Maker for no reason. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I don't think that's enough to really bring it anywhere below an A tier. I think like just with the consistency and just the amount of content that you get, this is like one of the like only games that you'd ever really need. Of course, like treating it like that, you do see the value in like a fully just finely crafted single player experience. Because, I get infinite Mario levels. It's just like, okay, well, what are you working towards,
Yeah.
So it's just like, it doesn't like flat out replace regular 2D Mario, but it's its own thing. And I think it's one of those games that like, if you can only have one game, I think you got to get like Mario Maker 2. I think that's like one of the must-have games with the amount of stuff going on in it.
It's great. social media makes it out to be like this burning embers because they didn't update it more often. And it is annoying that like the More Styles page on 2 has that big gap now next to 3D World when they very clearly had something else planned. So the future is hopeful, but even still, fantastic games. And the memories with 1,
yeah,
incredible.
I think that was kind of like the last big like legitimate game on Wii U outside of like Xenoblade X and Devil's Third. So you know, there's stuff there. I think overall, A tier makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, how about Box Boy, man?
Okay.
What are we talking about, Box Boy? I think Box Boy's fun, but I don't know if it belongs that high. I mean, it's Box Boy, man.
See, it depends on whatever you're in the mood for, because like we got Pushmo in B. I feel like Box Boy deserves to be right up next to it. If you're in the mood for that just type of consistent puzzle game, I think Box Boy hits the nail right on the head. You got it's 4 games now because there's one on Switch that just consistently changed the formula a little bit with a cool basic idea, charming character designs.
What character designs?
They're cute little boxes, but they got
Boxes.
they got rounded edge. No, you got QB, who's the box. You got QC, who's the box with the bow. And I don't remember, but there's also a long one. They added a long one. And then there's co-op in the Switch one where the box where QB and QC work together. It's cute.
Okay. Yeah, I like Box Boy, but I think Pushmo belongs high B, and then Box Boy can be a little lower in B.
Absolutely. I agree to that. Like of the 2, Pushmo's definitely better.
Yeah, I think Box Boy is cool. I think these are fun little puzzle platformers, but yeah, I think Pushmo belongs, and like that's the thing. Like I think it belongs in B because like, you know, I mean, like what's it doing wrong?
Yeah, exactly. I think I also just have a high affinity for these puzzle games where you get to be in the world and controlling it instead of just being some omnipotent onlooker like Picross. And Picross is great, but I just love the fact that you're playing these puzzles and you're in the world. I just think that's a really cool way to approach it. And yeah, Box Boy's fun. Also, it's made by the Kirby developers, so I may be a little bit biased on that one. There's some cool amiibo support in the 3rd one. I might be biased, but they're just fun little games.
I think you're definitely a little biased, but I mean, to be fair,
I mean, look at what's in C. Yeah, look at what's in C. Box Boy's better.
I mean, like then again, what about we got Starfy?
Yeah, Starfy's great. I think I would put Box Boy above Starfy.
I think low B. I think low B because if Starfy's gonna be in C, I think it only makes sense. You know, okay. Box Boy is probably like a little better designed, even though it's really basic.
You're gonna make me regret saying Starfy in C, but I see your games.
What, you want Starfy in B? We can put Starfy at high B.
Listen, all right. I'm no stranger to the idea that I love games featuring just little guys going on little adventures. I understand that's my thing. So Starfy, Box Boy, they're just little guys going on little adventures. They would all go in A tier if I had my choice, but
all right, fine. Well, what about other games about little guys going on little adventures? How about Xenoblade? Where's that going?
Ooh. Okay, so how much Xenoblade have you experienced?
I've played every game.
Okay. Got it. I would be curious to. So, what is it about Xenoblade that you are not into? We got to take both sides of the opinion here.
I don't think I'm saying that like Xenoblade is bad. I'm not even saying it's not for me. I'm saying it hasn't like fully like I haven't sat down and I haven't given it 10 hours of my life and fully committed. Because with Fire Emblem, you know, I think Xenoblade and Fire Emblem are always like the two little names ringing in my head, you know, like making my ears hot. And I think, you know, like it's kind of the thing that Nintendo fans that only play Mario, maybe Pokemon, complain about all the time. It's like, well, I don't want Xenoblade, I don't want Fire Emblem. It's just too many Xenoblade games, too many Fire Emblem games. But I sat down and I played Fire Emblem Engage, and I really liked it.
Okay.
I thought the story was dumb as hell.
It is.
It's not even, I'm like, wow, this is the one. It's more so like, it's just the one that I happened to play, and I was like, I'll commit some time to this. And I did, and I'm like, wow, this is really fun. So I know that the same would happen for Xenoblade, but right now, I just kind of feel like nothing really grabs me with Xenoblade. I feel like overall, like, it's kind of an open world for the sake of being an open world. I haven't really seen much that's like, wow, like there's so much to do, so much to see. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, you don't get really like great feeling control of your character, I feel, where it's just like, I don't know, I got stuck in a lot of places in like Xenoblade 1 or 3 or something where I'm just like, I need to get up there. I don't know how to do that, and I fell down a cliff, and you just go in the water, and you're just kind of floating there, and then it's just kind of like a clunky little feeling control. It's not even bad. It's just kind of like, it doesn't feel like, oh wow, this is like I'm in control of my character. And then the battle system just feels kind of overly complicated for no reason. I just kind of feel like I'm just kind of like, all right, buddy, this is what I'm doing here. This is how I need to battle, and I'm just like, you sure this could be done in a lot better ways? But this is me when I'm like talking, and I'm like, I know I'm wrong. I know, like, this is me, you know, and I'm kind of talking about this like I'm in therapy, and I just kind of, you know, like you can butt in at any moment.
Okay,
like,
yeah. So this is rough to listen to. Okay, so Xenoblade.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying like this is, you know.
Xenoblade is one of the greatest series of adventures any game developer has ever created. I think Xenoblade 1 is a masterpiece of a title from start to finish. There's like no down period at all throughout the game. Just exploring these giant titans is incredible. I love the battle system so much. The music's phenomenal. The characters are great. Just everything. Just phenomenal from start to finish. The second one's weird. The second one is weird. The second one has the overly anime stuff, and it could be a bit much at times, but damn it, gameplay-wise, exploring the world, the music, it's all good. 3, some of the best storytelling in any Nintendo game ever, and then X. So I think, ultimately, Xenoblade, I think that's a high A. There are some, you know, downs with this franchise. Like, there's a lot of 2, a lot of X, but 1 and 3 are phenomenal games, memorable games. Like, Xenoblade 3, for the people who know, has the greatest cutscene out of any Nintendo game ever. And the people who have played the game know what I'm talking about. But it's just... God, I'm so happy they gave this a shot. I'm just so happy because I was there when they announced the game in 2010 and then it wasn't supposed to come out and then Rainfall happened. I'm just so happy it came out because God, they're so good.
See, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying, like, hey, this is my experience thus far, and I can sit down and I know I can learn to really enjoy Xenoblade. I know that's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible.
It'll probably happen at some point. It happened kind of with Fire Emblem, so where are we putting Fire Emblem?
Okay, so with the similar knowledge that you have, to be fair, I've not played there's way more Fire Emblem than there is Xenoblade. But I think based on the ebbs and flows of the franchise, I would assume B is probably the ideal spot for Fire Emblem. Because a lot of times, from what I can tell, at least in recent times, the Fire Emblem is like starts high, next one's kind of mid, then we go good, then we go mid, and it's like up and down. Awakening was great, Fates was mid, Echoes, Three Houses, Engage. Like, you played Engage, and that's not even a great one.
No, it's not. I know it isn't. I'm watching these cutscenes, and I'm just like, this is horrible. So I'm just kind of thinking, like, I wonder what the rest of the fan base thinks. So I look up, you know, their thoughts, and yeah, I'm like, yeah, that'll make sense. Because I could kind of look, even on the gameplay, I'm like, it clicked with me with it, but it's not because it was Fire Emblem Engage. It was just because, like, I don't know, I just gave it more of my time.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why. So it's not even that Engage was great. It was more so like, you know, hey, you know, I let it happen to me. And yeah, it does seem like, you know, there's some bad ones. I mean, not even bad ones. It's just kind of like, yeah, there's some less stellar ones in there. You got some weird stuff like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which isn't bad, but it's just kind of like, that's just weird.
It's like you said, Xenoblade and Fire Emblem both are in this space where, like, the hardcore Nintendo fans can always be 50-50 on, like, loving every Nintendo franchise but Xenoblade or Fire Emblem, and Xenoblade and Fire Emblem. Because of the anime, the sword, the big RPG elements, a lot of times they don't fit the same bill as a lot of other Nintendo franchises, the reason why people love Nintendo so much. But if you like RPGs, I think there's so many incredible adventures in there. There aren't many other games like Xenoblade 3, or like Xenoblade in general. There are more games like Fire Emblem, that whole tactics-based thing, but it just does a really good job at it. Like, when Fire Emblem is good, it's great, but when it's not good, it still has decent gameplay, but the characters are mid, so like why the motivation? I don't know. The thing is, these are such big franchises. If you really wanted to rank them, that alone would take 30 minutes per franchise, because there's so many intricacies and gameplay mechanics and all these different things. As opposed to Pilotwings, which is just, you're flying around.
Yeah, so,
B, because I can just ramble on forever, but I think B makes sense.
B. Well, I mean, how about Advance Wars in comparison? Because, it is... it's made by the same people, similar gameplay. I think similarly B makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. One thing Advance Wars has, or doesn't have, I guess, compared to Fire Emblem, there's not much of a plot to Advance Wars games. I think Days of Ruin has a plot, but otherwise it's just kind of, there's a war going on, you're good guys, bad guys, just push through till you win. And they're fun. They're fun little games.
Yeah. And 1+2 Reboot Camp is great.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Battalion Wars games, which
very underappreciated. Very underappreciated.
Yeah, it's just also weird because like they kind of, I don't think they have anything to really do with Advance Wars. They're like weird, the home console version of Advance Wars, but we're not Advance Wars.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. And like, I think the working title for Battalion Wars was really, like, Advance Wars. Like,
I believe so.
But
yeah.
I think B makes sense because, like, I mean, like, I think Advance Wars at its height was like, oh my god, this is incredible. But, I think you can say the same about Fire Emblem. And Advance Wars at its lowest point is kind of like, it's Advance Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Like, Fire Emblem typically puts you in a spot where you feel like you're partaking in a war. Advance Wars has you feel like you're a kid playing war with your buddies, because that's about as thin as the story gets. Days of Ruin goes for like an apocalyptic thing, so like it does up the stakes a lot, which is cool. But similarly, pretty paper thin plots, but fun little gameplay.
I got this one right here. How about Elite Beat Agents, or the Japanese title for it?
Ostatake Oendan.
This is kind of like a cult classic on the DS. Mm-hmm. It's just like, no matter what, every year goes by, I think you're always going to hear at least somebody bring up Elite Beat Agents as like, yeah, I love Elite Beat Agents. At least that's my perspective. I don't think normal people really say like, once a year, man. Nah, but like, I played Elite Beat Agents, and I think it's cool. I think it's a fun game. I think it's a fun rhythm game. I don't think it's anything to write home about, though, really. I don't know. What are you thinking?
So I more so just love the Oendan games, because like the Elite Beat Agents, obviously gameplay-wise it's the same, but it all comes down to the track list, and I think the J-pop that they put in the Oendan games is a lot more catchy, a lot more fun to tap buttons to. There's a novelty to like some of the songs in Elite Beat Agents, but Oendan I think is just, they're better. I think it's quirkier because of, you find out that the whole cheerleader squad thing is like an actual thing in Japan. So I was like, oh wow, this is what Japan's really like. This is crazy. And then what's great about them is they also all have one really depressing song, and it comes out of nowhere, and it's insane. It's insane. Because when you fail the minigames, you watch the bad things happen. So a kid will have a dead parent, and you just, if you fail the song, you watch the ghost go bye-bye. It's messed up. It's incredibly messed up. I do love these games, but I mean, I feel similar to you.
Yeah, I like them, but like, and I've only played, the localized DS game. But, like I'm saying, like, it's like, yeah, I like them, and I think the gameplay is fun, and I like even the localized track list. We have a cover of Skater Boy.
Yeah, we do.
I just don't really know where to put...
I think Oendan tends to be better, so I would maybe say low A, but I also am a big rhythm heaven. I'm also a big rhythm game fan, so that's, again, my bias is showing. I love Japanese rhythm games, so I would say low A. I think the Japanese ones put it up there.
I'll put it there for the sake of the Skater Boy cover, and I think it's low A. Maybe high B. I mean, come on, bro.
So the thing is, when it comes to rhythm games, it's gonna depend on how heavy into rhythm games you are. If you're into playing the same songs over and over again to better your score, Oendan's great. Because, like, there aren't many other rhythm games that have that tapping mechanic. A lot of them are just pressing buttons, but, like, interface with the touchscreen, tapping the buttons, tapping them multiple times, doing the spins. I think it makes for a really replayable game with a consistent track list. It's a novelty on the DS. I mean, it's gonna if you're not into rhythm games like that, then yeah, it's gonna be lower. But
all right, fine, we'll do low A.
I don't know. The comments are gonna tell us which one of us are bigger Nintendo fan. So
I would say low B.
Put it in there. It's your video. It's your video. You put in low
I want to be nice. You're the guest. You're the guest of honor.
You can put it in B.
We'll put it around Fire Emblem.
Since I'm offended, I'm gonna choose next, and I'm gonna say we talk about Kruis'n for a little bit. Because I think that's a wonderful little puzzle franchise. There's three fun games. You get to play as a tiny little bird and a spinning stick, and it's fun.
You do.
It's a high C franchise.
Wow. I was gonna listen. I don't even know. I got a bad read on you sometimes. I was expecting like a B, but yeah. I mean, like it's just. It's kind of just like it's a puzzle game, pretty much, you know. Like, and it's just like. An action puzzle game, I would say. I don't even know, whatever genre. And I think it's, again, like, just the fact that it never came over. Of course, you know, the name is kind of like, you know, if it didn't have a different name in North America, it's kind of like, yo, what do you call this? But, like, you know, anybody can understand this game. It's literally just getting the spinning stick through little obstacles. You know, kind of like Steel Diver in a way. But, because you're getting a submarine through obstacles and that. Yeah, I'd say it's high C.
Because, like, okay, you got a hard read on me. So here's my mentality. Pushmo and Box Boy, super consistent, not frustrating. Kruis'n, super fun and super consistent, but it gets a little more frustrating because you hit walls. Yeah. You have 3 hit points, but if you hit a wall, you, like, die immediately. You're just like, bah, 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 and you're dead. So there's more frustrations in Kruis'n, so I think that knocks it down.
Kind of get like a level of anxiety while playing it, you know, that's kind of like a little claustrophobic. Pushmo and Picross you can take your time with, and you can just kind of cruise right through. So I think that's fair. You know what? Splatoon. Where does Splatoon go? This is Nintendo's little darling child that recently came about after years of like nothing really that like brand new from that. I mean, Nintendo kind of puts out like a new IP like roughly like every year, but at the same time like it's always kind of like Big Brain Academy level stuff, like just like jump rope challenge or what have you, like stuff that's like, okay, this is an original idea and character, but like, is it? Where Splatoon was like the first one kind of since like, I mean, Pikmin, not really, because, like, there's been other stuff since. You can count, like, the Wii Sports series and all that. Whatever. But, like, super character-based, new IP.
Immense world building. Like, they built a whole universe for Splatoon with a crazy lore behind it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and they kind of tried to replicate that with ARMS. I do know with, like, a lot of things that ARMS tried to do. Like, it just felt like they were trying to do the exact same thing as Splatoon all over again. They're just like, oh, let's do this and this and this, and it's the exact same setup, and it's like, I mean, ARMS did okay, but I think it was kind of a lot of that Switch launch hype and everything.
I agree.
But Splatoon came out, like, tail end of the Wii U life, and it's kind of like Animal Crossing, where then debuted on, like, some weak-ass hardware, and then, like, it just blossomed into, like, one of their biggest franchises. It's genuinely insane, like, how well this franchise does, in my opinion, Which is crazy because
this is people are going to be upset. I want to say B. I want to say B for Splatoon.
Okay. Because I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Like, 2 comes off as, like, they don't feel like substantial sequels. Their single players are very average. The DLCs tend to have been pretty positive, but the thing that's keeping it higher is like the general gameplay loop is fun. Like just doing a typical turf war, a lot of fun. I forget. The horde mode is escaping me right now from 2 and 3. Salmon Run is a blast. Like the typical gameplay loop is fun. So the Splatoon deserves a lot of points for that. But looking at the entire bubble, I think the mission-based single-player modes are very tedious. The DLCs have changed up the formula, and those have been great. I want more of that. And then when it comes to the Splatfests, I don't know. I feel like they've been dropping the ball in terms of giving you content as reasons to come back to it. It's not like Mario Maker where they drop the ball. There's still like a ton of things to do in that. If they drop the ball in Splatoon, you just gotta hope that the next time they do it, it's a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's been a dud every single time, but the lack of a big jump from Splatoon 2 to 3, besides the 3-person Splatfests and another story mode that's mid, and it's like, all those things are knocking Splatoon down, and the ceiling is so much higher for Splatoon. But because the core gameplay is it's just fun. Hopping back into Splatoon is always fun. So that's why I think B is a good spot with the potential to be much higher.
Yeah, I kind of agree. The game I got the most into was the first one. And then after that, I tried 2. And I'm just like, it's just kind of more Splatoon. All right. I wasn't necessarily in the mood for more Splatoon because the first one came out 2 years ago. And then the third one, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I just didn't need it. Even then, I see, of course, you're going to have, all these fans talk about this regardless of, they ruined things with the third one or something. I don't know. I see, discourse about 3 happening all the time where people are like, Nintendo ruined 3 or, they dropped the ball with 3. I don't even know what they did wrong. I'm just like, this is just more Splatoon for me. So, I'm not even really thinking much of it. Yeah, 2 just kind of was it just kind of happened, and it didn't retain my interest really because it was just I don't know, there was just a lot of dumb stuff that they did. I think that's another thing about the friend, it has such wild potential, and they meet enough of it to get by, I think, but you can always see just a little bit, if you just did some of these things differently, if you just did something, if you just offered 4 stages available at once instead of 2. I'm just
it's almost
stuff.
It's almost a Star Fox scenario where they've just made the first game 2 additional times.
Yeah.
It's kind of what Splatoon is. They did Splatoon 1, revolutionary. They did it again, changed the controls because now there's no gamepad. Okay, and then they did it again. And there are enough changes that the hardcore fans can really tell, but for someone who's a little bit more casual, it really just seems like the same game again. That same game is fun, but is the same game again.
And the single players are always the single player was cool in the first one, and they just did it again in 2, and then 3's is cool, but
it's very similar.
Yeah, it just feels like it could be so much more.
That's what the DLCs kind of are, because Octo Expansion is really cool, changes things up a little bit, and then the name is escaped. Fresh Order, I forget what the Side Order, also very cool, roguelike mode. So again, there's a lot of potential there, and they do experiment sometimes. I need more. I need a little bit more. I need them to break out of the bubble that they crafted 10 years ago. I need them to do a little something, because the world of Splatoon is incredible. Do more with it.
I think B makes sense. I like the games, but if a 4th one was announced, I'm I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna hand it over to you for the next one.
Alright, this is relevant to my interest. Let's talk about Tingle real quick. How much of the Tingle DS games have you played?
Tingle Balloon Fight. I got Tingle Balloon Fight.
Okay, that's the only one?
That's the only one, and for that,
okay,
I would give it D tier.
D tier just for Tingle's Balloon Fight?
That's all my experiences.
That's
valid.
So you know what? I'll give Tingle's Balloon Fight this. We're talking crap about it, but one thing that's incredible about Tingle's Balloon Fight, you can play 4 players.
Okay.
This local 4-player balloon fight, only exclusive to Tingle. I got to experience that monumental moment in my life.
I think we'll bring it up to C tier.
I think we'll bring it up to C for there. But no, so we got 2 other games: Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land and the Wizard of Oz one. I forget what the fan name is called, but it's Wizard of Oz themed one. They are some of the most insane adventures I've ever gone on, in terms of mechanics, in terms of characters, and overall settings. Both games are not associated at all besides the art style. Do you know anything about the DS games besides just being weird?
So yeah, I watched your video on them.
Okay, thank you.
So it's all I know is that they're just these weird little offshoots that are
very
just
weird.
Yeah.
It's it's so surreal. The first game has that bargaining money mechanic where you can soft lock yourself out of the game if you don't handle the money correctly. That's insane.
That deserves a B tier then.
Just the fact that it's there's a Tingle game that's a huge Wizard of Oz reference is insane. That's an insane sentence to say, that they took the one side character from Majora's Mask and then just said, screw it, let's give it a shot. And they are 2 of the most memorable adventures that Nintendo's ever put out. Not always for the greatest reasons, though. Yeah, you know what? I think that placement makes sense. Right next to Chibi-Robo, very similar developers. I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
4-player Tingle Balloon Fight. There's no footage of that online. I had to convince 3 people to play it with me because there's no one who was willing enough to capture footage of 4-player Tingle Balloon Fight. I have the world's first ever 4-player footage of Tingle Balloon. So that's, again, I'm biased.
Well, hey, congratulations. I think you're the only person that's really able to rank this series properly, because I don't think anybody else has been willing to sit through all the Tingle games like you have. I feel like somebody, people have definitely played one of them. I don't even know if they've beaten them, you know?
There's a lot of weird things on this list, like getting Hamtaro games in there, strange. Making submarine games, strange. Personal Trainer, made sense for the time. But to take Tingle and give him its own franchise?
Yeah.
Is one of the weirdest things Nintendo's ever done.
That's just my thing. I'm like, game development's hard, and you decide to do that, you know? It's just funny. It's just funny.
They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah. How about Tomodachi? Tomodachi Collection and Tomodachi Life and Miitopia.
You know, I have an idea for an executive call. One, you want to throw the StreetPass games in there, make it a whole, like, all these games kind of count as the Mii games. Okay, like, there's a handful of games based on Mii games.
Okay, fine.
I think what's interesting is that a lot of times interests for both of these franchises go together because they're Mii-based. Typically, if you like the StreetPass games, you get to play as with all these friends and all these people you run across. Chances are, you'll probably enjoy getting them in your apartment building, too.
That is true. They are all very different, though.
We don't have to. It's just a basic idea. I'm just saying. Because Tomodachi Life, I've only gotten to play for the first time like last month, and that's really fun.
Incredible, eh? It's incredible.
Yeah.
How about this? Let's just do both of them rapid fire, you know? Tomodachi B. I think Tomodachi Life is wonderful on 3DS, but there is a giant ceiling to it. And not a giant, it's just more so like once it's done, you're done with it. Like,
sure.
There's only so much you can do with it, and you just start to see your repeats, and you know, it's just like you lose a lot of its charm after like a week. And Miitopia, a lot of people like Miitopia. Miitopia isn't really my thing. I think it's too basic of an RPG, and it doesn't have the text-to-speech stuff of Tomodachi Life, which I think is like a huge reason why it's so charming. The Mii Maker in it's incredible. It's genuinely incredible. But the gameplay doesn't really hook me, and a lot of the funny haha moments of seeing your friends or people you know or celebrities in these wacky situations, I just feel really bummed out that like it doesn't have the bizarre and robotic text-to-speech of Tomodachi Life, because that was just so... It was so weird, and I loved it. It made everything so funny. You know, I think overall this franchise has a lot of potential. And Tomodachi Life was such a fun, weird little game, and it did pretty well. Miitopia as a follow-up is disappointing, but I do know that people like it. I'd give it a B. If you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I think low B makes sense, because I think the thing is with both of those games is if you play them in their own bubble by yourself, then yeah, it's like Miitopia. If you want to play an RPG, it's not like you go to Miitopia for your RPG. But I played all of these games while friends of mine were also playing these games, and that ups the value of them tremendously.
For sure.
Sharing Mii designs in Miitopia on Switch, incredible. Getting real life friends in Tomodachi Life and then just texting them the weird things that their Mii is doing, incredible. So like as a social game, like absolutely B tier. But if you're looking for a quality RPG, that's not where you go.
Yeah, I would say for a quality RPG, I'd say Miitopia's in D tier. Yeah. So, but I think Tomodachi B tier. I like Tomodachi.
I agree.
And I want to see more of it, and I want it to be like jam-packed with content. But right now we got StreetPass. I never divulged a ton in the StreetPass games on 3DS, so what do you got to say about these suckers?
So like that's why I wanted to kind of throw them in the same bubble, because very similarly, when you're playing them by yourself, you know, they're whatever, these tiny little mini games that don't have a lot of staying power. The appeal of StreetPass is always the appeal of StreetPass in general was bringing your 3DS around, collecting friends, and then using them as ammunition for whatever game it was. You're building a flower garden, you're going on an adventure, you're shooting them out of cannons, you're doing the stock market with them, like all of those things, just being able to play a new experience every day, because you can get up to like 10 people. That is what made it a lot more fun. Just very emblematic of the 3DS time, the excitement of bringing your 3DS around. I think for the StreetPass games, same with Tomodachi Life and Miitopia, very social games. Under that context, low B tier. If you just sit around and farm for coins and just try to get scores, that's boring and dumb. And then it would go down in D tier. But as a social game, the StreetPass games definitely go up there.
They're a little kind of like idle games that you'd get on like your phone and stuff, but like way more interactive than those.
Yeah.
You ever see like those idle mobile games that are just kind of like, oh, you're making all this money in a business, and like you just set your phone down, and if you watch an ad, you get twice as much money.
I used to play a lot of Cookie Clicker.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that's all that is. So.
Yeah. StreetPass is a little similar to that, but like not as like mindless. It's like an actual game, but like you're saying, like without the social element, it's kind of like, like what are we doing?
Plus
here?
There's like 10 or 12 of them. Like there was a lot of content thrown in there. So
yeah, they did DLC, and they got all this other, and they're all done by like different developers too.
That's crazy. You throw in the StreetPass puzzles in there also as like an extra little bonus, and like StreetPass deserves to be on this list and deserves to be at that spot on the list.
Style savvy. Where does style savvy go? I think the thing is, like it's easy to be like, oh, style savvy, just like, oh, finding fashion and stuff. That must be a lame game. In reality, like the games are quality. The games are good for what they are.
That's what I've heard.
C tier.
Sure. I have zero basis for this.
This is endless ocean type stuff,
This is endless ocean for fashionistas.
Yeah, and like I played one of the 3DS ones for footage, and I'm like, it's not bad,
Sure.
Like, okay. Well,
I got nothing. I mean, what? There's 3 games, right? There's the original, there's Trendsetters, right?
I think there's like 4.
Good for them.
There's a lot.
Good for them.
They put out like one of the final ones on the 3DS on Christmas Day as an eShop exclusive. Even though it's like a retail game in like Europe and Japan and all that.
Yep.
So it's just like, I don't think many people played that one. I don't think it happened. But this is a fun one. This is kind of weird. How about Kid Icarus? Because this is almost like 2 different franchises. So like if we're talking classic Kid Icarus, if we're talking the NES and Game Boy game, I would say that is like a low C.
That's a D tier. Do not like those games at all.
I mean like the 3D Classics version of Kid Icarus ain't bad on the 3DS. Like they kind of improved that one, and I think it's a lot more enjoyable that way. But yeah, Kid Icarus on NES and Game Boy, it's weird that like there was so much hype for like a new Kid Icarus game, and obviously that was because of Brawl, but also like the fact that they brought Pit back and everything, it's kind of like they wanted to do like an Ice Climbers thing, like how they brought Ice Climbers back in Melee. But Kid Icarus was weird because they kind of made Pit out to be like, I think like Sakurai was quoted saying like, they wanted to design him as if he was continuing to get games. Almost in like, okay, like what would the evolution of his design look like? How would he look today? And that kind of led us to Uprising. But it always seems like there's always been like that potential with Kid Icarus. It's always had kind of like that lore, those characters, just this style that's like, this feels like a game that deserved to have more games throughout the years. And it never happened until 2012. And then it never happened again. So, Uprising is pretty incredible. It's flawed. It's flawed.
It's physically painful to play.
It feels very like Bayonetta-like to me in terms of like how... hear me out on this. It feels very much like how I described like every single encounter in that game feels like the final boss. Like the amount of detail, the amount of like stuff crammed into every single element of these games is incredible. And Kid Icarus Uprising feels the same. Where like it's the meatiest damn game of all time, and you just see just the backgrounds and the world of this game all on a 3DS cartridge.
Phenomenal multiplayer too, by the way. Like man, if you got around the controls, that multiplayer was so much fun.
Yeah, it just seems like this massive home console game crammed onto a 3DS, and that was one of its biggest problems. Is that that's what it was. But I think with Uprising has so much potential, and it's like the 3DS game. That's always been the 3DS game. It did okay. It did okay. I think it did about as good as you could expect a new Kid Icarus game to do, especially with it being literally nothing like the original. Which is also kind of weird, the fact that it's like, yeah, this is a new Kid Icarus game. It's also like, it has nothing to do with the original pretty much. But you kind of had to do that. I think B tier makes sense considering everything.
See, I almost want to say high C just because NES and Game Boy, it's really not good. It's very rough.
Listen. I'm not gonna contest that they're rough, but I do think there's worse, like, Nintendo published NES games. I will say that.
I would probably play Kid Icarus more than NES Metroid.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
I mean, like, if you know what you're doing in Metroid, you know, it's fine. But like at that point,
actually, I guess I would probably play Myth and Monsters. I would probably play that over Game Boy Metroid 2. Now that I'm thinking about it.
And we put 2D Metroid in S tier. That's an S tier.
Well, yeah, but that we're talking after those two. There's two blights. They're still good. I'm just saying. Okay, low B, just because Uprising is so damn high.
Yeah, I think Uprising kind of makes that entire franchise. If it wasn't for that, it's kind of like that weird, like, oh, what if it's Kid Icarus was always kind of like the Murasame Castle franchise, where it's just like, you look at this franchise and it has so much like reverence amongst so many people. Like, oh my god. And, like, Murasame Castle has gotten so many, like, little, like, things about it. Like, so many cameos elsewhere, all this stuff. And you look at it, and it's just a top-down NES game where you're just killing enemies. That's all you're doing. And Kid Icarus is kind of the same way, where it's just like, really? Like, this is what you're basing all this off of? Okay. You know what? Why don't we continue kind of this talk? Star Tropics.
I like Star Tropics. My meme for a little bit was begging for Star Tropics 3. I was the only one vocal enough and brave enough to say Star Tropics 3 should happen. They're rough games. They are some rough games that you can take advantage of now with save states and rewinds, but man, not doing that. These games are rough and mean, and they want you to die. You just jump off the screen wrong, and that's it. You lost 20 minutes of gameplay. It's a cool aesthetic. You got the letter with the first game. That's cool. That breaks the fourth wall. That's pretty cool.
What the hell is going on with Zoda's Revenge? I've never seen that game. I can assume what it looks like, but I don't even know what that title screen looks like. The Star Tropics is an iconic-ass title screen.
It does.
I know what Star Tropics looks like. But Zoda's Revenge, like, I've never even heard anybody say anything about that.
Zoda's Revenge is strange. The title is already bizarre because you kill Zoda at the end of the first game. And you don't know Zoda's back until, like, near the end of the second game. So I don't know why they called it Zoda's Revenge and this revealed the fact that he's back. It's dumb title.
Is Star Tropics. Star Tropics has absolutely no value as an IP.
It has no value as an IP.
Rob was in there. Zoda. Maybe Zoda has value.
The second game is like you're traveling through time to collect Tetris pieces. You help Cleopatra by giving her, like, a chicken nugget. You help out Sherlock Holmes.
Listen, man, I respect Star Tropics. Like, I respect, like, the original NES Zelda, you know?
Sure.
Like, it's like, that, I respect it. And I think if you play it with a guide, you know, you can have a good time. Playing, like, these NES games, these NES adventure games with a guide, kind of almost feels like, you know, you're following a treasure map. And you're kind of like, oh, 4 paces up, and, you know? Like,
the first Star Tropics nails that, like, 100%. Yeah. Like, you're going inside of a whale and stuff. Like, really cool.
Yeah, so I think there's still value to it, and I think you can get some good stuff out of it. It's not like, yes, I think, like, yeah, they are archaic, and, like, yeah, like, it's kind of hard to play them these days, but, like, I think Star Tropics has that vibe. I think it always has potential to come back.
Yes. Every year, there's a rumor that Retro Studios is making a new Star Tropics, and I'm out there hoping. It'll never happen, but I'm out there hoping. I think C. I think mid-C.
I think low C, man. Low C. I mean, like, we put Star Fox and F-Zero and Wave Race near the lower end of C.
Where they belong.
I think Star Tropics is low C. I mean, bottom of the barrel has to be What is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon doing here, man? Honest to God, what is that doing here?
Let's leave everything as they are, and then we can come back at the end and swap things as we need to.
All right, whatever. All right. So Star Tropics, you get next pick.
I say we quickly knock out 4. We got the Mario Sports. You got 4 of them right there. I feel like they may not all go into the same bracket, but I feel like we can talk about them all in the same breath because these are very much like you can almost expect these, not a guarantee, but on all these consoles to have some semblance of these 4 in general. Except for baseball. Yeah. So I guess baseball can be the lowest one because they gave up on baseball really quick.
Yeah, baseball is cool. Like, I can have fun with all of these. Even at their worst, you can have fun with them, like as multiplayer distractions. Baseball, I would give a high C, just because it's like...
Yeah. The quirkier modes of baseball are fun. Getting the power-ups is fun. So as like an arcadey baseball game, it's pretty good. Story mode's very dumb.
But that's what's fun about it. And you have a huge roster in there.
Huge, gigantic roster. In any it's the only game where you can play as the, what they call the Nokis from Sunshine.
Yeah.
Good for them.
The Goomba.
And the Goomba.
Goomba playing baseball.
Yeah, no hands! How can Goomba play baseball with no hands? Donkey Kong it also uses a boxing glove.
It's funny!
And that's cool.
Mario Strikers gets really bogged down by the Battle League on Switch.
Sure. But
at the same time, I feel like Battle League is kind of comparable to the first game. Because the first game is also a little like light on content, but it's also like, you know, it was a GameCube game and it was the first of its kind. Whereas I think you expect more out of a Switch release in 2022. But, you know, at the same time, I think Mario Strikers would probably be low B.
That's what I'm thinking as well. It's more fun than baseball at a base level. And similarly, yeah, man, Battle League, such a disappointment. But it's still fun. I still had my share amount of good matches in some Strikers.
I can respect the gameplay core. At its core, the gameplay is solid in Battle League, but like everything else around it, even with the gameplay, like I feel like I always have to go back through the tutorial with Battle League and just relearn the button layout and just like, okay, this is what we're doing. But you know, the original GameCube, Wii game. Yeah. Solid times.
Absolutely.
Mario Tennis and Mario Golf. So I think Mario Golf has been more consistent across the board. There's not as low of lows with Mario Golf. I think Mario Tennis has really damn high highs and really low lows, like really low lows. Mario Golf, like, World Tour is phenomenal on the 3DS.
Agreed.
Toadstool Tour is great. You know, you have the RPGs on the handhelds for a bit there, and then you also have Super Rush, which is very mediocre, I would say, overall, but I mean, at its core, you get your Mario Golf game.
I agree. I think, yeah, like the new stuff in Super Rush was not really thought out well at all, but like the bare bones basic golf mode, it's fun. It's fun. Would it be safe to say we think very similarly, where it's like N64 game's good, GameCube game's great, handheld RPGs, neat, and then everything else, like, kind of after that is like a mixed bag. But like that core set of 4 games per sub-series, they like were running on all cylinders with those. Like the GameCube games are both phenomenal, built off of good bases on the 64. I think the RPG modes are very neat for both Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. So that deserves a lot of points. And then, yeah, after that's just weird. Like, World Tour is really good. Aces is very mid.
Aces has incredible gameplay, but it was a little too late, like, with all the stuff they added. By the time they were adding stuff, I was just like, I was already checked out. I was checked out a couple hours after popping it in on launch day, you know?
Yeah.
I would say Mario Tennis and Mario Golf kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of, I see them both as pretty equal.
I'm saying low A.
I mean, like, would I really prefer them over Mario Party and Mario and Luigi and Paper Mario?
We did put those there.
Yeah, I think it belongs below those.
Yeah, no, they're very on par.
Yoshi is here. I think below Yoshi.
Yeah, by the metric that we set out last time. Yeah, no, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So there we go. We got the sports titles.
There you go.
Technically, there are others we could do. Like we could do the Mario Sports Mix series. which would also include Mario Hoops 3-on-3, because then that was followed up by Mario Sports Mix, which was then followed up by Mario Sports Superstars. But I don't think that really counts.
Yeah, I don't think we need to add that. That would be what a C tier.
That would probably be in D.
A D tier?
No,
That's
D.
fine.
I put it in D.
There you go.
Mario Sports Superstars is pretty abhorrent.
It really is.
That's pretty bad.
It really is.
How about a weird one? How about Cruis'n?
I wish I had more to say about Cruis'n. I don't really have much to say. So there's what? There's the 3 and 64 games. There's the 3 and 64 games that have some of them have arcade versions, and then there's the Switch one, which I think counts.
Yeah, it's still owned by Nintendo. Like, Nintendo owns the IP, but they just license it out.
I know the Wii one's bad.
The Wii one is weird. I think that's actually a Fast and Furious arcade game, and
that sounds right. Yes,
they reskinned it to be
right.
a Cruis'n game for the consoles.
Yeah,
which is strange. But yeah, this is a weird one where, like, Nintendo owns the IP. Like, all the arcade cabinets always have Nintendo logos on them. Like, Nintendo owns Cruis'n, but they just don't care. That's why, like, Game Mill published the Switch release. But, like, you still go into the Switch release and it still says copyright Nintendo.
Yeah, it's definitely a Nintendo thing.
I thought the Switch game was fun.
I loved Cruis'n Blast. It's just an insane, over, like, so many colors. It's overly stimulating.
But the Cruis'n series as a whole, I've just always kind of... It's just such, like, an arcade racing game. And that's what it is, and that's the only way I can really describe it to people. There's nothing really else I can say about it, other than it is an arcade racing game. It is exactly the kind of game that you remember playing in, like, your bowling alley's arcade game when you're waiting for everybody to leave, or like, whatever, you're waiting for your food to get there or something, or the movie theater or whatever. And for that, like, it has its place in history. It is an important piece of our American culture. But at the same time, I think it's a C tier.
Yeah, I think it's a C. Iconic N64 games, Cruis'n World and stuff, good times, and the Switch game's fun, but ceiling's way too low for this type of stuff.
Do you want to pick one?
Do you have anything to say about Golden Sun? Because I actually have no opinion on it. I've not played them.
I played a little bit of, like, the first one, and never played the sequel or the DS game. I mean, like, it's cool. They're solid RPGs, but I think it's kind of in that weird Star Fox area than F-Zero.
Yeah.
Where it is kind of like, you know, one of those franchises that just, like, has been neglected over the years. But, you know, you kind of look at it and you're kind of like, do you really want it back? Or are you just saying you want it back because, like, you remember playing it? Like, what more can they really do with this other than just keep making Golden Sun games? But, like, what value does that bring? You know, they're just kind of like alright RPGs.
I think Golden Sun fans don't even like the DS one all that much, from what I can gather.
Nah, the DS one I've heard is, like, kind of the low era of the franchise.
I think that's the right spot, just purely based on perception. I think that's where it belongs.
All right, how about Fluidity, baby?
Fluidity is pretty fun. It's a pretty. No, it's not. It's really not.
Yeah,
like
we just hit Golden Sun with the C tier, and then you're like, oh, look, Fluidity.
Fluidity it's neat.
It's one of those Nintendo games. It's kind of like Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, where it's just kind of the concept of, like, can you make a game where you control water?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the 3DS one because, like, the 3DS one, you can turn your whole system upside down.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then they gave the water a personality in the 3DS one also. They called it Spin Cycle. That's a fun name.
Fluidity is, like, cool for the first level or world or whatever. And then, like, I've never played it past that because I just don't really feel the need to. I'm just kind of like, it's not fun. It's kind of like, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's neat. And at that point, I think it's kind of like a Donkey Konga. It's kind of like a Mario and Sonic, where it's kind of like, you can see the value, you can have fun with it, but, like, who cares? Who cares?
There's a subset of games out there during the WiiWare time that really don't deserve the love that they got, but it was a lot of, like, guys, this is an actual game they released on WiiWare. We should give it a shot.
I think the bar is so low on, like, what WiiWare offered that, like, when you get something like a Fluidity, it's like, wow. And it's like, for WiiWare, it's like high quality, it's a unique concept. There's nothing else like it.
I think that's for good reason. I
just don't think there's any reason to give a damn about Fluidity, I gotta be honest. And I I still like it to an extent, you know?
Yeah, if they were ballsy enough to make another one, I would play it. But I'm not going back to play Fluidity on WiiWare. I'm not begging for an HD port.
Punch-Out, I think belongs in A tier. I love Punch-Out.
Yeah.
I love Punch-Out. Come on.
The only thing I was ever salty about with Punch-Out was I spent $50 on the Wii game and beat it 2 hours later. I was always very salty about that.
But did you get through the second mode?
I did. I did all that I did all that in a day because it's a very short game. But that's just looking at the price. No, I was gonna say I think realistically, if I get rid of my bias from however long ago,
that's what you do with WarioWare, man. WarioWare you beat in 2 hours.
That's true. And WarioWare is better.
How bad has Punch-Out been? Punch-Out hasn't really missed.
It's true. I'm not as big into Super.
Yeah, nobody is. Nobody is. But it's still kind of like, you know, like we still like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say we as in like I know what you think, even though you just said I don't really care. It doesn't have the same charm as like the NES game, which is weird because it's pretty much the same thing. It kind of is a little more like the arcade games.
Oh yeah, the arcade ones.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, Super Punch-Out's a little weirder, but it's also pretty much the same thing. So it's kind of weird that like I feel like we all think that way, where it's like, it's Super Punch-Out, it's okay. But then Punch-Out on Wii is phenomenal. I love Punch-Out.
Yeah, I think I always just kind of wish they did more with the Wii one. It comes off as a bit of a remake of the first one with like 2 additional characters. So I kind of always wish that they did more with Punch-Out, but it is hard to deny that they're just fun. They had
balance board support.
That's true.
Well, at that point, like, yeah, you know what? I don't want my bias to shine through. I think High B would make sense because Punch-Out hasn't really gone further than the NES game. Like, it's always just been the same thing. WarioWare, at least, like, they've done a lot of stuff. Like, it's always, like, super innovative with, like, their different control schemes and whatnot. Punch-Out's always just been the same damn thing.
I think Punch-Out fans would say you don't need to mess with the good thing, like a perfect thing like Punch-Out, but I think there's a lot of things that they could do with Punch-Out. I was always salty the Wii game didn't go far enough. I think High B makes more sense for Punch-Out. Only because, like, yeah, like you said, WarioWare, they're at least we're changing things up every time. Punch-Out is, like, all 3 games are pretty identical. They're good. Yeah, that's why they're in High B, but they're good.
So there is Punch-Out. I love Punch-Out. I think an interesting one might be regular old vanilla Pokemon.
Vanilla-ass Pokemon. Okay. So we're just talking about... I know you don't like Pokemon. So we're talking just baseline Gen 1 to Gen 20, whatever we're on now.
Main series Pokemon. Series Pokemon.
There's nothing you like about Pokemon.
I like the world. I like the characters. When I pop in a Pokemon game, I am telling myself I want to get into this. I want to like it, and it never happens.
Okay.
So that's just kind of how it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing with Pokemon, what's interesting, what I've been able to tell is everyone's favorite Pokemon is just the one that they grew up with. There's not like an objective we can compare gens and see which one's better or worse. It's just whichever Pokemon game was the one you grew up with is your favorite.
Listen, without bias, I'm gonna just say low A.
Are you gonna say low A? Okay, because I was gonna say mid B. I think enough mistakes were made to drop it down a little bit. Like if you include the Gen 4 remakes from the Switch gen, I think baseline Diamond and Pearl were also mid because people only like the third one in that. I think the 3DS ones are kind of mid, but once again, the 3DS people who played it when they were growing up are starting to come out about that game being those games being 10 out of 10. So it's always an ever-changing list. I think in its current state, we're in a good spot. Arceus technically counts. That's what they say, and that was great. Scarlet and Violet were great. They ran like garbage. That's talking about the Pokemon Company just goes in F tier. Yeah, but
I think it's weird because it's like a couple years ago, the whole discussion was like they're not doing anything to innovate Pokemon, and then they come out with Scarlet and Violet, so it shows like no, they want to push the series forward. They just don't have time to do it, or they don't have like the resources to. So it just kind of feels like the problem is now they look and run like ass. Yep. They never looked the greatest, but it's like, now they're just now this is the main problem. Yeah, I mean, like from an outsider perspective, I've dabbled in every one of the games and I've tried them and it just doesn't appeal to me very much. But like I said, maybe I need something to happen. Maybe I need to like a pail of water falls on my head and I pass out. And
did you not give Arceus a shot?
I did.
And even then, just didn't click with you.
Yeah, didn't really click with me. But you know what? I respected it. Why I say like low A is just considering the cultural imprint that Pokemon has left, and just the fact is, like you're saying, like I do think it's kind of like, it's kind of like the Zelda cycle that we have, where it's like Skyward Sword was never bad. It's just that like, like this is the latest example of what Zelda is. And it doesn't appeal to me because I grew up with this Zelda, or like this is my favorite Zelda. And on 10 years later, you start to realize like, oh yeah, Skyward Sword was never bad. It was just a different take on Zelda. Yep. And I feel like that's gonna happen with I feel like that's happened with Tears of the Kingdom. Like people are gonna be like, oh yeah, and then 10 years later they're like, wow, this is the best thing of all time. Yep. And I think Pokemon's always the same thing. Like everybody's like, man, why isn't Pokemon like how it was 10 years ago? And then 10 years later, man, how is Pokemon not like how it was 10 years ago?
Yep.
So it's really hard to be like, wow, things have gone downhill. Like I don't think things have gone downhill. It's just I don't know.
Yeah, I think at its baseline, Pokemon can't be lower than mid B, just based on like cultural impact. And the baseline mechanics are fun enough. I don't know if it'll ever get much higher than that unless they completely change their attitude.
I think that makes sense. How about Pokemon Stadium? Technically, all 3 of the games on N64, because like the one was only in Japan, and then one, the first one we got here was technically 2 in Japan, and then 2 we got over here was the third one. And then there's Pokemon Coliseum, XD, and Battle Revolution.
I forgot about Battle Revolution also, but yeah, no, that counts.
Yeah, I think low C, high D maybe. What are you thinking?
Yeah, child me loved Stadium because it was seeing my Pokemon in 3D for the first time. That was incredible.
And that's all the value is, and that's why we don't get those games anymore.
I haven't played the GameCube ones to know if they're worth a damn. Those actually have stories in them.
I think that's always been really interesting. Have you ever thought, like, the way Pokemon XD looked, it almost looked like they really wanted people to think this was a mainline Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Like, the cover and everything, and even the title, it just seems like it's like an actual Pokemon game.
Yeah.
The fact that you have, like, a full-blown RPG in it, it's kind of like... But it's not really, it's more of like, here's just an RPG story mode with Pokemon in it, compared to a Pokemon game that's a Pokemon game where it's all about collecting Pokemon. And I think they belong in C though.
Yeah, I think C has to, because the Stadium games are cool novelties. The GameCube games, I've been told, have interesting stories. Battle Revolution.
What's wrong with that one? I've never even.
I don't know.
I
think it's just the battling again. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's a game there. I think it's just like Stadium where you do the but there's less stuff than Stadium. That's what I believe. What I believe. I could be wrong, Pokemon fans. I don't know. I was not a Battle Revolution hardcore purist. I don't think it would change regardless the placement on this list.
What about Nintendogs? I think Nintendogs is kind of hard. Have you played a Nintendogs game recently?
Oh, my Nintendog's been dead and flies rotting its corpse for 10, 15 years. However long.
I like that we all like act like that's what happens, like they're like Tamagotchis or something.
He's probably fine. My dog's probably fine. It's a little dirty.
They're always gonna be there. They're just dirty. Yeah. I played a bit of like the DS games within the past year or two. It's strange because like there's not a lot to do.
No.
It's very much based on like when you're younger and you're enjoying your DS for the first time and you're like, wow, I get my own little virtual pet. And I think having a virtual pet game is a lot about like genuinely treating it like a pet. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the fun has to come from genuinely like just focusing on them like they're a pet. Because like when you look at the actual content in Nintendogs, it's just not a lot. You play with your dog. Even then, it's kind of just like blow bubbles. That's cool. Fling a ball. That's cool. Train them for events and then win money, and then you can use that money to buy more dogs or maybe different like wallpaper.
This is putting me to sleep.
Listen, Nintendogs had its place, and Nintendogs plus cats was like, I think that's what the game like should be. There's more going on in that game. At the same time, it is still just Nintendogs.
Even when I was a kid, I thought the novelty was neat, and I got bored of it really quick. Because, I don't know, just walking the dogs, I remember just being slow and the dog would poop and you just had to let it happen. There was the obstacle courses where the dog just wouldn't let. I guess it's like a less fun Chow Garden. I don't know. It's like of its time, it makes sense. Like of the time, it made sense. The pre-smartphone era, it checks out. Like I bought the game, so obviously like I was part of the people who were interested in it.
I mean, I was like 10 when I had it, so like, and I think you were probably like more like entering your teenage years.
Yeah.
Like during that time. So I think like definitely like as a 10-year-old, you put up with more bullshit, and you're kind of just like. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, I walk my dog and I get a present.
And obviously it was successful also.
I think C tier makes sense. I mean, like, you know, like for what it is. And like, yeah, it did well. And like, I have a lot of great memories with Nintendogs. At the same time, like playing it now, like I'm just kind of like, there's not much going on here. And it's like some neat toys, some neat things to do. Like the voice, you know, like calling your dog, the fact that it does kind of recognize you. And you train your dog, like, you know, like there's stuff going on there, but you gotta, you know, it's kind of like how I don't give a shit about Miitopia. It's kind of like, you kind of have to sit down and you kind of have to give it your all. If you don't give it your all, you're not gonna like it.
It's really indicative of the changing of the times, because Nintendogs sold really well. They made 5 versions of Nintendogs. That's nuts.
You don't even need 5 versions. It's not even like Pokemon where like, oh, I get to trade dog. No, it's literally, you get all the dogs and all the versions, but like it just depends on your starters.
Yeah.
Your starter dogs. The best friends version of Nintendogs, Dalmatian and Friends, is the definitive one. You get everything.
Is it?
You get everything.
I was a Labrador. I was a Labrador
as well. Labradors have always been my go-to dog picks.
And then when Nintendogs plus Cats came around, no one cared.
Yeah, because it's like it's Nintendogs with better graphics, and that's all it is.
Man, I'm really thinking back that the 3DS launched with Nintendogs, Pilotwings, and Steel Diver.
And I think Nintendo banked on Nintendogs.
Yeah, they must have.
Blowing up. They just thought like, oh, it's Nintendogs. People are gonna love this game, and it sold millions. Like it's probably sold like 4 million or something, maybe 2 million. It still sold okay, but like not nearly as much as the original. The original sold like 20, 30 million or something.
I think its placement makes sense because people are at least asking for new Star Fox and F-Zeros. No one's really asking for new Nintendogs.
I think people always bring it up as like a possibility, you know?
I would be astounded.
I think as like a smartphone game, as one of Nintendo's smartphone games, would have made all the sense in the world.
Sure, yeah.
That would have been perfect. Alongside WarioWare. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But no. Okay. Well, Animal Crossing?
B.
Really?
No.
That seems a little harsh. I think
my mind immediately went to City Folk, and I was like, City Folk was super mid, but that's not a proper comparison. No, I guess A.
I think A. I think that makes sense.
Because I'm thinking now that the time I spent with all of them but City Folk was immense. City Folk was the only kind of dud. Yeah, I love the GameCube one. I love the DS one. New Leaf. It's hard to really understand how New Leaf got as popular as it was. Because, like, kind of like Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing was a good franchise. These were good, reliable little life sims that are going to be pretty fun. The hype cycle for New Leaf was insane. And it sold like insane. And it made that franchise become, in Nintendo's eyes, like an S-tier franchise.
It's genuinely Nintendo's biggest franchise. Like, New Horizons it's sold better than Mario, Zelda, Pokemon on Switch. And like obviously a lot of that had to do with the time it released. Like everybody was inside in 2020, so they were like, oh yeah, Animal Crossing.
But I mean, it's almost like it's not a crazy thing to say that New Horizons probably saved a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's not even a crazy thing to say.
And now all we do is bitch about it.
I know. This incredibly terrible game I spent 200 hours on.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I think it's too much to be like, this is garbage. This is an animal. It's just like, no, like all the people saying that spent 1,000 hours in it and are like, there's nothing left to do. And I'm like, yeah, and like obviously there's a lot of irony in that, but like I understand what they're saying. Like it's like it is a step back from New Leaf in many ways. I think the core of it, like the core of New Horizons starting out, I think makes it a genuine better game experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Like just the, going through your Nook miles and building up this deserted island and stuff. I think it genuinely makes it like a super satisfying, really, really fun experience. Kind of gives you a clear direction to move in compared to the other games. With that being said, when you get to a certain point in New Horizons, like you're kind of like, okay, what else? And in the other games, like you had stuff to do. New Horizons, you don't really feel like you have a lot to do most of the time. It's kind
like
of
they drop the ball with
like,
with events and stuff and things to do with friends.
It's kind of just down to like it's mostly just like design your island, and even then, like, you know, what can you really design your island with a lot of the time? Like they didn't even have a lot of the Nintendo stuff. You had to wait till like Mario Day or Mario's 35th anniversary for Mario items to get added to the game, and even then, like, there's not a ton. Yeah, but, you know, that's just New Horizons. I think New Horizons is still a great game.
New Leaf, I think, is still the best.
I think New Leaf is the best. I think GameCube, you have a lot of it's really appealing with, like, you know, it has such a funky style, and it's so simple, and you got those dumb little NES games that you could get. And you could enter all those codes into the game and stuff. Like, there's so much stuff with that, and then I think Animal Crossing really just like peaked because like everybody played like one, and then by the time New Horizons came out, everybody was like, oh yeah, everybody's owning a Switch now, and then everybody from Animal Crossing Past comes together and they play this new one.
Yeah, you know, similar to like the StreetPass games and the Tomodachi games, the social element of it really makes this franchise better. I think that's where City Folk bogged things down a lot, because they tried. There was the stupid We Speak accessory. So they tried to make it a social thing. Didn't work out, but like the DS one came at the time where message boards were still a thing, so there was still a social element with that. New Leaf had online, and then, you know, you got New Horizons came out at the perfect time, so the social element helps out a ton with Animal Crossing. Plus the funk of the original GameCube. It's hard to deny it's one of Nintendo's best franchises.
Yeah, of course you do have some of the stinkers. You know, we gotta count the spin-offs. You know. Happy Home Designer and Amiibo Festival, and
I like Happy Home Designer. I like Happy Home Designer
too, but you know,
yeah.
Amiibo Festival is Amiibo Festival. It's kind of
Amiibo Festival was whatever. But they added Happy Home Designer to New Horizons, and that's like the best part of the game.
I think it's just ridiculous that they ended it there. They were like, and that's all we're doing. I mean, it's just like, you know that you can turn Animal Crossing into genuinely like The Sims with like all of its expansions and stuff, and you can add so much. There's still so much you can do, and they were like, no. And it's just like, why?
They added Puzzle League to the 3DS game, so never came fantastic.
It's weird. I think that team went on to make Splatoon 3. Maybe that's why they were like, okay, well, like we'll you know, that's all of our updates, and I'm just like, if I were Nintendo, I'd be like, I don't know. You separate the teams, have one team for Splatoon, have one team for Animal Crossing, because like these two franchises are too big.
Technically, that exists because the mobile game keeps getting updated with stuff. They keep adding the Pocket Camp for some reason.
That's true. I don't understand why mobile games. It seems like for some reason mobile games, they have no problem pumping out like endless amounts of content for them. But then for the home console games, whenever a developer talks about it in an interview, they say like, "Well, we couldn't make everything for this game," and it's just like, I don't doubt them, but it's just always weird how like mobile games get so much content and so much stuff. And I understand a lot of it's microtransactions and stuff, but like that's a lot of risk. I mean, like look at all the courses in Mario Kart Tour. Yeah, and you're just like, it's just in a free game. Weird.
And there's still a few that are not in Mario Kart 8, which is insane because there's 96 courses in that game now. Yeah, these mobile games get so much. They keep adding to Fire Emblem. It's nuts. It's nuts. I know Animal Crossing fans are very upset that Pocket Camp keeps getting all this stuff, and New Horizons fans are left out in the dust.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, why is there a team that just keeps pumping out stuff for these mobile games, but then you don't do that for the home console stuff?
Yeah,
I don't get it. But all right. How about Art Academy?
There's a shocking amount. There's like 5 or 6 of these, because there's the Pokemon one, there's the Disney one, there's the Wii U one.
Here's the thing: as a kid, a lot of these like art applications and stuff were cool. Nowadays, I don't see much point to them at all, other than like it's great that there are games to help people learn like techniques, how to draw, and all this stuff. Putting it on a game console. I just feel like it's often kind of like it just means like you're not really going to get a ton out of this experience other than like it's an art game for your video game console. Whereas in like, I don't know, did you see like Colors Live on Nintendo Switch?
Comes with the
like
stylus.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's neat, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, if I'm genuinely interested in doing art like this, like, yeah, if you can't afford like an iPad with an Apple Pencil and stuff, I understand. I do have an iPad with an Apple Pencil, so there's nothing for me.
I think there's a novelty to something like the Pokemon one, and I wish Nintendo just did more of that. Like similar to Picross, where they have a couple themed ones and then they just choose to do generic ones instead. Realistically, if they did like here is a Mario Art Academy, I'd be like, that's kind of neat, how you can draw your favorite Mario characters. There'll be quirky new music and a new style. Like Pokemon Art Academy, for what it's worth, is the neatest one of the bunch. Disney has a lot of value, even though that could be a mobile game. But for some reason, just with these casual games, it's like Nintendo, for a lot of it, is afraid to Nintendoize their casual games when there should be a more healthy blend of the two. So Art Academy, because it's mostly just generic, does it even succeed as an art teaching tool? I'm sure people have made some good stuff with it.
I think the problem I have is like, I don't know, I don't really want to spend a lot of time making art on a DS or a 3DS when like, even then I could just do it on paper, and I'm like, here, it's on paper. Like that's, like, I don't know. Like if I do it on DS, I'm like, what am I gonna do with this?
Yeah.
Like what am I gonna do with this thing? I appreciate it, and I think it's great to give people options if they only have a game console and they really want to learn art. But like you're saying, like, yeah, I think if they Nintendoize it, I think Pokemon Art Academy was probably this franchise at its peak. Because like that's when it made the most sense. It's like, okay, well, let's do art lessons with something that you might really, really like. And like, if you really like Pokemon, then it's just like, oh, damn, well, then you can learn how to draw Pokemon, and then you can learn how to draw from that or something. I don't know. As it stands, low C, high D.
Yeah, I was thinking D because of just looking at them not trying. Yeah.
I respect Art Academy. I like it to like for what it does. At the same time, I don't have there's no purpose for me to use it. And I just feel like, yeah, you could just go a little further. You could make Mario Art Academy, Zelda Art Academy, Kirby. Like, you could just do all this stuff, or you could just do, like, yeah, more Nintendo stuff. Yeah. But, yeah, they try to make it a little too generic and just clean for a mass audience. And I think that kind of hurts its playability for people outside of the small group of people who desperately want to learn how to draw on just a Nintendo console.
I agree.
How about Wrecking Crew? Weird this even counts as a series, but there are 2 games.
There are 2 games, which, remarkably enough, Nintendo of America acknowledged Wrecking Crew 98, a momentous occasion in Nintendo history.
That's true. D tier.
It's D tier.
I mean, Wrecking Crew is like fine.
It's like masquerading as a puzzle platformer, but there's no puzzle to it. It's just brute force your way through all the metal bits.
Yeah.
It's not great. And the multiplayer stuff in 98 is cute because you can fight sushi. That's funny. It's not good though.
It is kind of like, oh, it's like a puzzle platform. You can make your own levels, right?
And the NES one, yeah.
And also Wrecking Crew 98 has like the original in there, which is weird.
Yeah, it's not an NES game emulated on Super Nintendo is very strange.
Yeah, it's strange. But yeah, it's Wrecking Crew. And like, yeah, I mean, technically speaking, there's a bunch of franchises that we're missing if we're counting things with 2 games. Like, there's Pokemon Snap.
That's A tier right there.
All right, fine. We can just put that right there right now. I don't
we'll put Pokemon Snap in A tier. Bro, those games are so
Pinball.
good. There's 2 games in there. That's B tier. Pokemon Pinball is B tier. Pokemon spinoffs can hit sometimes.
Yeah. And Pinball. Oh, you got the Rumble in there too. That's cool.
The Rumble is great. Dude, Snap.
Yeah.
God, Snap is so... I played Snap, the N64 one recently. Still great. And God, new Pokemon Snap is a legendary game. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, you know what else is a legendary game? And it's only 2 games. It's Flipnote Studio, baby. I know I just went on a tirade about how Art Academy doesn't matter. Flipnote Studio does, because it's just basic little animations, little doodles. I spent so much time in this on DSiWare, and it was free. And it was pre-installed in a lot of DSIs. And then Flipnote Studio 3D had just this giant, just monsoon of garbage happen to it. I don't even know the full story. I think there was just like some concerns about like whatever, like kid safety online with like Nintendo apps. I think like Swapnote got hit with like just like strangers messaging them and stuff. I don't even know if that's a specific story. I just remember like the vague like bullet points. And also how Flipnote Studio kind of got hit with that. Like they had to disable like sharing online stuff with it, and they just kind of indefinitely postponed the North American launch, and then it finally came out as like a Club Nintendo reward or a My Nintendo reward, and there was nothing to it. It was just like the basic make a little animation. You can do it in 3D. You also can't share them, so what's the point? But I remember Flipnote Studio, Flipnote Hatena, like where you can look through all your stuff, all the submissions. I remember all these crazy stick figure animations and just all this stuff.
And ahead of the curve too, by like taking other people's art and then adding on top of it.
Yeah,
it's like what TikTok does now. Hatena was doing it 15 years ago.
Yeah, I love Flipnote Studio. I'm not gonna play it anymore at all. Like if they put out a Flipnote Studio these days, like I'd download it and I'd open it, but like I'm not gonna spend a lot of time like making something.
No, that was a perfect for its time early social media type stuff. But I honestly never partook in Flipnote, so I have no real say. But I've watched a lot of cool things happen, so this is all on you.
I'd put it around the Brain Age area.
Sure.
I'm like it's that DS kind of franchise that hit well at the time, had its place at the time. I love seeing it come back, just because I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, they got the little frogs and shit. They have frogs in Flipnote Studio.
Little orange frog.
I don't know. Just like random stuff that I'm like, yeah, I like seeing that come back. Am I gonna use it? No. I'd love to see what people can do.
Of course.
It's a very of its time thing. But for like animation software on the DS, it was like crazy. It
was the selling point of the DSi, like the DSi, like over DSiWare. I heard more about people using Flipnote than caring about DSiWare.
Yeah, that's a huge element of it.
I want to talk about Excite real quick because I think very highly of the Excite series. I think they are very underappreciated. I think Excite Bike, classic, but whatever. Excite Bike 64, whatever. But Cat goes S tier. Cat goes S tier, always.
Oh no.
Oh no!
He selected all my shit.
Excite Truck, when that came out on Wii, fantastic, I think. Excite Bots, phenomenal. The remake of Excite Bike on WiiWare, World Rally, really enjoyed that. Monster Games had a good string of titles for a little bit. Excite's very good. I want to say high B tier.
I think that's
just based on the Wii games. The Wii games are fantastic.
I think Excite Bike's always been a cool franchise. I mean, you can play the NES game these days and it's still like pretty good for an NES game, especially a black box game.
But see, like some of these other franchises we've talked about not hitting their potential. I think Excite. I don't know how much more you can do with it besides make it more bombastic. Because Excite Bots was just an insane marvel of a racing game by having poker and bowling and darts and throwing pies and faces and the world can morph and stuff. You can add MP3, not MP3s, whatever music file for Excite Truck. I don't think it was MP3s. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
still cool.
I think, I mean, like, the fact is, like, Excite Bots, like, showed, like, it was them attempting, like, hey, let's just go in a weird direction. You know, like, oh man, we did bikes, then we did trucks. What's next? Robot bugs.
Robot bugs.
Yeah, and it worked, but it didn't work in the sales department.
Not at all.
How about Balloon Fight? Balloon Fight's interesting because like that game at its core is a ripoff of like Joust. I think. Yep. I'd rather play Balloon Fight. One of the better black box NES games.
I agree.
You know, it's right alongside Excite Bike, where it's just like you can still play it these days, and like there is merit to it. Of course, like I said, it's not an original idea. There's a bunch of games just like it, but I mean the balloon trip mode is really good, and the fact that like they expanded that into like the Game Boy game Balloon Kid. You have like the Nintendo Land mini game. I would give it like a high C. Just because, like, I think it's a good black box game, but outside of that context, like, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, Balloon Kid is an interesting little. I like that they made it a proper adventure out of Balloon Trip mode, and then there's the Hello Kitty version on NES, which I think is a remake of the Game Boy Balloon Kid, but with Hello Kitty. I think I don't know.
It's weird. I saw our good friend John Cartwright make a video on that.
Yeah,
and then I bought it on eBay. Ooh. And I have Hello Kitty World on Famicom right now.
Congratulations.
And it came with another Hello Kitty game on Famicom. I don't know what that one is, but it has the frog from Hello Kitty. So it's just a bunch of stuff. I like Balloon Fight as a simple NES game.
And need I remind you, 4-player Tingle Balloon Fight.
That is true, but is that a part of the Tingle series, or is that part of the Balloon Fight series?
That's a conversation for another video.
That's true. Fossil Fighters. What do you think about Fossil Fighters?
I don't.
I can't even picture what Fossil Fighters looks like. Is it an RPG?
It's Pokemon-like, but before you get the Pokemon, you, like, travel and find fossils and extract them from the ground. Then they become, I think they're called Vivosaurs. And then you can put them in 1v1 battles. I think people liked them. I think that's one of those games where if you had it when you were 8, you have attachments to it.
You love that thing. You love that thing. But, like, nobody played the 3DS one, Fossil Fighters Frontier. Nobody played it. Like, it's one of those things that it came out. I'm looking at, like, what did it get on the reviews? 3 out of 10 from Destructoid. Fossil Fighters Champions got a 7.5 from IGN, which is interesting because Fossil Fighters 1 got a 5.9 from them. So this franchise is all over the place. This feels like, and like again, I don't got anything on Fossil Fighters. I just know it's a funny Nintendo franchise to bring up because, like, who really cares? And it also doesn't seem like a Nintendo franchise. I always kind of equate Fossil Fighters with, like, remember that dinosaur game at the launch of the 3DS?
It's like Battle of Giants, something like that. Yeah.
It's not the same, but it just seems like such a generic dinosaur DS game. Like, whenever I've seen it, I don't immediately think Nintendo publishes this game. Nintendo owns Fossil Fighters.
Which is interesting. Like, I've always associated similar to, like, Yokai Watch, because, like, Yokai Watch has more fans, but they were both of these games where, like, you really like Pokemon, you want more of it. Well, luckily for you, we got similar enough games on the same consoles.
Can we put Yokai Watch just for fun? Because, like, Nintendo published all the games over here.
Yokai Watch will have to go over Fossil Fighters no matter where Fossil Fighters go.
Okay, Yokai Watch is D and Fossil Fighters is above Wrecking Crew.
Right up there with Ken Griffey Jr. I think I'm okay with that.
What do you think about Yokai Watch in D?
That's fair. Again, I have no opinion of Yokai Watch. I played a little bit of the first one, didn't like it. I've been told I should give him another shot. There's way more games because they started doing multiple versions. The third game's very expensive. There's Blasters, I think, is one of them. Yeah. There's Yokai Watch Just Dance.
There is Yokai Watch Special Just Dance. I have that one. Yeah, it's like Yokai Watch 4, I think, is on Switch and PS4. Which, okay, I won't count it. I won't count it. It's not a Nintendo franchise. Whatever. But whatever. We'll talk about Yokai Watch a little bit here. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think anybody that's like, damn, Yokai Watch used to mean something. Like, they were very young when Yokai Watch came out, and they got really into it. Yeah, that's kind of the only thing. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I just don't really see how, like, you can get that into it if, like, you don't have kind of that childlike wonder and enjoyment.
It was getting pushed hard. Nintendo was pushing the hell out of Yokai Watch. That was going to be the next big thing. And it was big in Japan for like 2 years.
It did okay over here, I think. Like, I remember the anime released here, and I remember seeing like whatever like relatives on Facebook say it's just like, oh my god, my son loves this show, and the thing is called like Cheek Squeak and it farts. Oh my god, or something. I don't know. So it's just like it had a wide net, I guess. It did appeal to kids and whatnot.
Led to some banger Nintendo Direct moments.
Yeah, Bill Trennan eating donuts.
It's pretty good.
Reggie dancing, clicking on his watch, doing all.
He's so cool.
The Nintendo Europe president doing the Yokai Watch dance.
That was cursed. I remember that.
All kinds of stuff. But yeah, I don't think they're great games. I think the designs are cool. And the graphics are fine and all that. It's just kind of down to the gameplay. It's just, I don't care. Same. Custom Robo.
We're getting down to franchises I have almost nothing to say about. I don't know anything about Custom Robo. I know you play as a kid who mix robots and they go for battles. That's it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I do my little Scottisms and I say, like, I'd like Custom Robo to be more of a party game, and I see people online say, Scott, you fool, you're an asshole, you're an idiot. I'm like, the idea of, I make my own robots and then I fight other people, just make it a little dumber. Make it a little dumber. I don't want a dumbass strategy game. Piss off.
I don't know. I don't
Customer
know.
was in that weird kind of Animal Crossing thing where like it debuted on N64 in Japan and GameCube happened and they had a DS one.
Yeah, I mean a combat-like game would be I'd be down for more of that. I think they need to give it another go. Because what's currently around,
I thought.
Who knows? Maybe it's this crazy hidden gem. Maybe we just need Customer-Robo HD.
I don't know if it's a crazy hidden gem, but it does have people that like it. I remember when they revealed Daemon X Machina on the Nintendo Switch, I thought, what? It was just like a reboot of Customer-Robo, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. And then it was Daemon X Machina. I was like, okay. And that's all I really thought of that game.
I remember being confused also, and you put them right next to each other on the list, but I remember seeing Chibi-Robo and Customer-Robo on the same console, and as a kid, I was very confused. Because I thought they were part of the same franchise. Yeah. Not great marketing. Not great analytics on that one.
All right, how about Famicom Detective Club? Because, like, fundamentally, this series is, like, consists of the same two games over and over and over again. Yeah. The first two games on the Famicom disk system, and then you have, I believe there were Super Famicom remakes of them, and then we got full-blown remakes on the Nintendo Switch. And I feel like, you know, they are fine visual novels, especially for the time. And especially, like, seeing them kind of, you know, reborn on Switch really does make you appreciate, like, just how much they did with just an 8-bit system.
Yeah.
To do, like, these kind of, like, visual novel kind of deals. It's really impressive. I just, you know, I don't really care. Like, you know, like, I care from the perspective of, like, these are really cool to see get brought back. At the same time, like, playing them, I'm kind of like, okay, you know. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I like me a good detective visual novel. Ace Attorney is, like, my favorite franchise, so getting the amount of love that the remakes got on Switch is remarkable because they really did a lot to try and modernize these 8-bit games. And the best part about these games I can give them is a lot of times visual novels are very long in the tooth. They will take up a lot of your time with dialogue. Famicom Detective Club is very snappy. Doesn't tell a mind-blowing story, it's just a solid detective story that goes by at a really nice pace, but that's such a niche thing. I don't think it can go higher than mid-C. Probably a good entry point for the detective visual novel genre. Anyway, if you don't think you'd like those types of games, that's a pretty decent entry point because games like Ace Attorney and Danganronpa jump the shark on so many different things. This is just like a pretty by-the-books detective game. With the cool aesthetic.
I think that's completely fair. I don't really have much else to add other than that. We're kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel here, you know, like how much do we really got to say about a lot of these guys? All right, how about 1080?
Okay.
How about 1080?
I think the only way you can make these things work is if you somehow make a Wave Race 1080 like combo pack, Pilotwings, like you just do this Woohoo Island thing, but with all these different things. That's like what that one game Go Vacation did. Like, I think that's the only way you can make these things work, because, I don't know, I know people like their snowboarding games. I don't think there's enough there to make it much higher than it's placing on the list.
I mean, it's mostly down to, like, I think it belongs below Wave Race, because, like, I just don't really get as much of, like, a unique feeling from 1080. Like, we have other snowboarding games, and Wave Race is, like, a lot more unique and a lot more, like, it sticks with you more. Because, like, I've played both, and I'm, like, I'm not really thinking of 1080 as much as I do Wave Race, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Wave Race just kind of hits a little harder. With that being said, it's not like 1080 is bad.
It's mind-boggling. Like, again, the whole, like, lack of Nintendofication of their casual games. How did Mario show up in SSX on tour and not 1080?
Yeah.
This is insane. It's insane.
They have their integrity with their 1080 franchise.
Yeah, clearly.
Art style and bit generations, we can probably hammer those both out at the same time.
I was gonna say, these are not bottom of the barrel. I really dig these games. They are part of basically the same franchise, right? Like art style is what they were known in America, Bit Generations in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's pretty much like Bit Generations was just what it was on GBA, and then art style succeeded it. You know, and they're all done by Skip, the Chibi-Robo developers.
I love Skip. I do love me some Skip.
They're funny. They're funny guys over there.
They're little funny guys. The
problem is these games are all like. It's kind of like ranking the Wii series, because it's kind of like they're all a little different. They're all pretty different. They're all different genres. So I don't know. What do you think?
Probably because I never bought any of them at full price, so I was never offended at the idea of spending however much, $15, $30 on them. As quirky little puzzle games with a cool art style and very atmospheric, you know, just aesthetic. They were always consistent. I liked Pictobits a lot. That was the Nintendo-based one on DSiWare. That was fun.
I got frustrated as a kid because I got it as a Club Nintendo reward and I didn't understand how to play it.
God, one of the big problems with Bit Generations, I just I can't put names together with the actual minigames besides that. Because they all have these weird names that probably are relevant, but I just can't. I don't know. Looking at the list, I can't put it in D. Because they're like all at least kind of fun.
I think around the Game & Watch. And C.
Yeah, because it's actually not a bad one. You just can't. There's not much to play in a long scheme of things.
They're sort of like more modern takes on like a Game & Watch kind of style.
Yeah.
You know. All right, Daigasso Band Brothers. I got nothing on this, buddy. That's all you.
Do you know like the really endowed bat
Barbara
from Smash
Bat.
Brothers? Yes, this is the franchise she's
She was
from.
in Master of Illusion, which on DS.
Really?
The Magic game that comes with like a pack of cards. She is the main character in Master of Illusion, which is strange as hell.
Oh.
So
Did not know that. All right. Is that part of this franchise?
Yeah, so like from that perspective, I'm like, okay, that's kind of neat, I guess.
These are interesting rhythm games because I definitely don't know if I've played anything like it. Like you take a Guitar Hero like thing where it's like you play the notes in order, but the visuals of it are you going through the chart bar by bar on the top screen, and it's D-pad buttons, I think, that are like the only thing that work with it. I think there's a freestyle mode. I don't know. It's not great. It's just not a great rhythm game. They tried it a handful. I think there's 3 of them. I think there's 2 on DS, 1 on 3DS. None of them got local. Oh, that's not true. That's Jam with the Band, I think is what it was called in Europe. I think the first one got localized. Mm-hmm. They're just not great rhythm games, I don't think.
I'm hearing a D.
Yeah, it would probably have to go high D. Like, my rhythm game bias probably personally puts it a little bit higher, but God, it's really, like, not... They did add, like, the text-to-speech stuff in the 3DS one, though.
I like that. That brings it at least, like around a Star Tropics. I don't know. Nah, I think D sounds about right.
It has a super cool style, though. Like, I love the art style, like this underground hip-hop studio. Really cool style, but, yeah, games are just not great.
Pokemon Ranger, baby. I got also nothing to say about this. I don't even know what the Pokemon Ranger games look like.
All right. So this is fresh to me. I just played through the first one, which wasn't all that great. But when I tweeted about perception of it, people say the second and third game are a lot higher. The first one is very not great. And do you know what the primary thing is with the Ranger?
No.
The circling. Oh, God. So it's a top-down RPG, and when you encounter the Pokemon battle is it's running on the screen, and you gotta circle it, like, in however many times it dictates, and that's how you catch it. Remember the Walmart DSs with absolutely destroyed touchscreens? This was part of the reason why, because it's just mindlessly circling the Pokemon like crazy.
I kind of like that, though. That's fun. As a kid, I would have been like, damn, this is awesome.
Yeah, not the first one.
I like using my DS, you know? I like doing all this fun stuff with it.
I do too, but man, that first one is rough. Because, like, it'll be like, this Pokemon, you have to spin it 10 times to catch it, but they attack you, and if they attack the line, you lose health. And it doesn't autosave, so if you just spun too many times and not enough, you lost an hour of progress if you didn't save. But... because people say the second and third one are better, I would otherwise say D. I guess it would have to go low C next to Mystery Dungeon. Just based off of the hope that what people say about the second and third game are true.
We're putting this in D. I don't
No,
care.
low C.
Low C?
Oh, wow.
Man. Well, can I at least put Pokemon Mystery Dungeon down here?
But people say the second game is life-changing.
God damn it. Okay, fine. All right.
We're gonna go through this list again.
What do you want to end it on? Polarium or Earthbound?
What's gonna get people more upset?
I gotta look up Polarium gameplay. I've definitely played Polarium.
Polarium is like the grid-based game where like it's a bunch of black squares. Some of them are white, and you gotta in the least amount of strokes get it from white to black. It's technically not even a series because like the GBA game, I think is the same as the DS one besides the no touchscreen thing.
It's called Polarium Advance though. So it's a different game, and I think that belongs in D tier then.
Yes.
All right. Now the final one. Who would have thought we would have gone to this 5 hours later? It is
Jesus
Mother, the Mother series, Earthbound. where does this go? So I think, we got Mother 1, Earthbound Beginnings, Mother 2, Earthbound, and Mother 3. Earthbound Beginnings is pretty rough.
Not good.
That one's pretty rough. You can just skip that one.
That's like all NES RPGs. You can rose-colored glasses, 8-bit games all you want, but 8-bit RPGs are rough.
Yeah, so I don't, that one kind of takes it down a little bit. But then you have Earthbound, and that's like one of the best RPGs of all time. Of course, it has its quirks, It does have its quirks. Never played Mother 3. So, I'll hand this over to you for a bit here.
Yeah, so I was never really a big Earthbound fan. It's like old school RPGs I'm just not a fan of. A lot of old school RPGs that are just attack, wait. The big thing I always got countered with is the whole thing where the life counter ticks down so you could save yourself last minute, which is a neat idea. But I don't know, the gameplay was not fun enough for me to enjoy the atmosphere like everyone else says is like the big thing, because you're a kid and it's modern day. You're not fighting dragons, you're fighting teachers and buses and stuff with a bat. Like, it is a cool idea, but it's tough for me to play. Mother 3 advances the battle system with like an action command based system, which makes it a lot better. Once you know the story, I don't know, once again, I'm not as big into it as a lot of other people are. Obviously, the quirkiness of Mother and Earthbound have inspired a ton of indie games because it's such a unique take on it. Like, its storytelling is incredibly unique. But, I don't know. Earthbound never got to me. So I would say high C, and people would be mad. People be very mad. I think Mother 3 is the only one kind of worth playing. You don't gotta play Earthbound Beginnings. And I don't know, I just don't think Earthbound's all that great.
Buddy,
there's obviously great things about it. Like, the characters are neat, the music is really cool.
I think at the very least, it should be around the B area. Like,
you think the B's?
Can't.
Mother 3 is good. Mother 3 is pretty damn good.
And Earthbound's good too.
And it's the old school RPGs I'm not a fan of.
It's good though. It's good.
Maybe I gotta play it maybe at double the speed to maybe enjoy it.
And that's fine, but like, you gotta commend the quality of it. There is quality there, and I think genuinely, like, you look at Earthbound, everything that it did compared to all the RPGs at the time, it really went against all the norms. Of course, you can say the same about Mother 1. But it really went against a lot of the norms of like what is expected out of an RPG back then. I mean, it's literally like, instead of fantasy whatever, setting, you have contemporary, you're a kid. And I think that is like, I think that kind of gives the game really its own flavor and just general vibe compared to everything else. And that's just considering like the setting and the context of like who you're playing as, what you're playing. And I think just the impact that it left. I mean, like, even though like it sold like ass, it does have like one of the most ravenous small fan bases out there, in addition to like, I don't know, you can see like inspiration of it literally everywhere. I mean, like Undertale, you see so many RPGs come out and they say like, yeah, Earthbound was a big inspiration and all this. I think B.
Sure. I mean, like,
look at what we're putting in C. Mario Baseball.
You can make a similar argument with like Xenoblade, where I can be like, this game is fire, and then you're watching me just run in a straight line in a giant field.
Yeah.
Like, it comes down to what you're doing versus like what you're playing, like what world you're in. And like the world and aesthetic of Earthbound, its storytelling, the quirkiness of it, fighting a giant like garbage monster and fighting Gygus at the end, like the stuff that you're doing in game is obviously remarkable. I just don't think it's that fun mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
But with an RPG, how much does that matter? Because a lot of RPGs, you like them because of like the scope of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for that, sure, Earthbound deserves to go higher. That's why I think Mother 3 is good, because it has that quirkiness with a much more fun system and more variety and whatnot. And like anyone else, I think there's a lot more room for growth.
Mm-hmm.
But old school RPGs, very hit or miss anyway. That's just my thing. Your mileage will always vary.
Yeah, I think with just considering the legacy of the franchise, at the very least, the fact that you can pull so much from it. I mean, like, look at what we're putting in C. Like, could you really put everything. Could you really like make all this merchandise and put all this content in like Smash Brothers and all this stuff from any of these franchises that you could with Mother?
Hamtaro.
Well, that's in low C. You wanted high C, so it's a different playing field.
You're right. So Mother should go low C.
Yeah. Well, overall, do we want to look at this list and give our final opinions? Like, what makes sense? What do you think needs to move? Can I make an executive decision here and bring Pokemon Mystery Dungeon down?
That's fine. I fought for it, so the fan base you have to deal with, not me.
Just who gives a damn, man? Like, I just don't care. It's Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, for crying out loud. I don't know. Are you seeing anything that you want? You need anything changed?
I'm liking S tier. You had me wondering about 2D Metroid for a little bit in S tier, but like even though the first two games are dated, they're still, you know, very ambitious. And then everything else after that, it's 10 out of 10. 3D Metroid, 2D Zelda. Yeah, S tier I'm okay with.
A tier, Mario Kart, Luigi's Mansion, Donkey Kong. Yeah, I think that all makes sense.
Yeah, I'm okay with that also. I'm glad Sin and Punishment is up there. Yeah, a lot of the B tier are just A tiers that had more mistakes. Because like Fire Emblem, Splatoon, they could all be higher if they didn't goof up. Same with Paper Mario.
Yeah, the Mario RPGs, Pokemon. Clubhouse Games I mean like maybe A. What did it do wrong?
Want to move it in higher B, or you wanted to straight up move it into A?
What did that do wrong?
Sure, screw it.
Nah.
No one's watching 5 hours in. Put it at A. Put it at A.
I'll put it low A. What did it do wrong?
It really
and
didn't.
It was awesome. It was awesome in 2020. Like I think we played like a couple rounds of like Moncala and stuff together.
We did. It is fun, and I do still play it from time to time.
I do too.
Which you know, this says a lot.
It's perfect for what it is. Like there's like I genuinely like any mistakes of it is like genuinely just down to like, oh well, that's a shame. Like why can't I play 4 players in bowling? But I'm like, do I really care?
Right.
Not really.
Do you want to just put it in S tier? You want to just put it in S tier?
I will. Okay.
You have an executive call. You can do that.
Yeah.